This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Scott Pryor. Thank you.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
This week we'll be covering The Ring Goes South as a part of our journey through Middle-earth.
Is that a double meaning, Ez?
Yeah, I guess so.
Kinda.
The Ring Goes South.
Or sour.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay, I like it.
Sauron?
Good. Yeah. Good.
We're
That's
off
great.
to a start
We're
here.
off to a great, solid start. It's probably because we're live on Facebook right now. It's
It's just officially ended.
Oh, it's just
unfortunately.
Okay. That's too bad.
Time to get serious. I don't know.
Time to lock in here and really get after it this week.
What book are we reading?
Yeah, I think it's a little something called The Fellowship of the Ring.
By Jaron Token?
Yep, that's him.
Yeah.
That'd be the
Lord
one.
of the Things. I've read it.
Okay. Okay, so into quick counsel, my friend. We actually want to be quick about this today because we have a lot to do at the beginning of the show and a lot to do at the end of the show.
But we really mean it this time. Usually we say that and we it still goes to
it's
4 hours, but
right, it's in the outline now, so we have to be quite.
Every 3 lines it says, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
Please skip and move on.
Please get along there.
All right. Quick counsel, though.
Yeah.
How's it going, friend?
I'm great, man. This is be playing in the future, but right now it's the day after tomorrow. We're going to be leaving for Canada. But by the time this actually is to all of our beautiful uppers, we're on our way back from Canada. So
Really? You'll be on your way back?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
looking forward to that. This will be July 8th, and we'll be on our way home back to America. So,
Okay.
But it's a great time. My wife's family has this beautiful tradition. Her grandpa's been going to the same camp in Missinaba, which is in Ontario, for like 40 years.
Nice.
He knew the man who built the camp. Go fishing for walleye and occasionally catch some pike up there, and it's amazing. We go through Mackinac City and Mackinac Island on the way up. It's at the tip of the mitten for in Michigan and the UP and all that. It's beautiful, man. A lot of fun.
You actually showed me a home video the other day.
That's right, which you sat through all 45 minutes and loved.
I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
Nice editing, my friend.
Thank you.
It was good. Actually, it looked really beautiful. So.
It is gorgeous. What are you up to?
Not much, man. It's raining out. It's kind of rainy, and the wind's blowing a little bit out there. So
I heard some voices.
Yeah.
Voices.
Something's going on. So
Yikes.
I don't know.
Batten down the hatches or turn back.
Either one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, quick counsel, done and over. Moving on, record time. They're like, wow, these guys really have a lot to get to this week.
There's a lot to get to.
There is a lot. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to be rolling into Dropping Eves, guys. Some really cool stuff. Well, I guess, yeah, some good stuff. Some sort of answers now. So last episode we talked about the fake news about Lin-Manuel Miranda. Unfortunately, that is not real news.
Yep.
And then the week before that, we discussed Jennifer Salk's interview and some news that she released concerning the show.
Yeah.
That the deal has just recently closed within the last month and a half. Maybe that's why we haven't gotten a lot of news. Well, if this article is correct, which is on CNET, talking about the potential release date, it makes a little more sense as to why we don't have more information. I don't know why I was thinking where this came from, this idea it would be coming out next year. It's not as.
No, yeah.
Not coming out in 2019.
Right.
Not coming out in 2020.
Wow.
This show, they're hoping, and I quote, hoping will be released by 2021.
Really?
So we've got a little bit of time, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
Not a bad thing at all. But we're looking at this show, which may or may not be about Aragorn in 2021. So we got a little bit of time. This article also did talk about some cool. I mean, she mentioned here again that they have an estate that's very active. Talking about the interacting with the Tolkien estate.
Good.
She said she spent 3 hours talking with Neil Tolkien. I'm guessing is one of the grandsons or great grandsons. I don't know Neil, but she said there's a lot of moving parts with it. So, they're still early on. She said she's had some amicable conversations with Peter Jackson, which we kind of hinted at before, we had heard before.
Right.
she said that the show will likely involve characters you love,
Okay.
but will not remake the movies. Again, just more clarification on what she said previously. And this is really cool. We'd kind of speculated that this is probably going to happen, or we're asking the questions if they would. She said it's also possible the show could shoot in New Zealand. So possible. So there you go. We at least have kind of a timeline to look at. So I thought we might be getting some more heavy news like within the next month or two, but it might not be for a while. So, but something,
you know, that's good. Honestly,
it is good.
I think it's
we got some reading to do. We don't need to be worried about a show.
No, we have a lot of reading to do, and we've been wanting to get back into all this for a long time. You know, another thing too is that I often say this with, you know, authors who are currently writing a series or whatnot, or if you're producing something. I even look at when I look at Star Wars. Take your time.
Yeah.
You know, like give us
get it right.
Yeah, get it right.
Yep.
Get us a good product. You know.
Yep.
You know, we want to be entertained. So.
I couldn't agree more, man.
And we want to learn something from it. We want a good story. So
that's absolutely right. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess we don't really necessarily know if it's going to be about Aragorn.
Well, you don't even know if it's really going to be 2021, do you? I mean,
we don't know.
I say, you know, they threw it out there as a
safety.
Yeah. Could be earlier. Could be later.
Could be.
It's cool. Whatever.
So that's some news regarding the show. We also still don't have a release date for the Tolkien biopic. I'm kind of wondering if it was actually even really filmed, or if that was just maybe a spoof. I don't know. Or, I don't know.
What if it was? We've been talking about it for a week and a week.
So hopefully that'll drop to us soon. In other corners of Middle Earth, there was a Facebook poll actually. So. We won't be able to report on the last episodes, but we're reporting on part 1 of the Council of Elrond.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, because the one that was for last week was who won the Draft of Doom, the 2018 Draft of Doom. Was it, you know, the Wizards, or was it Team New Zealand?
Now, wait a second. They can't report on the whole thing yet, can you?
That's what I'm saying. I can't yet.
Because can't report on that yet.
That happened last week, but we're recording before last week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of like Back to the Future right now, guys. The timelines are
messed up.
Sort of all over the place, but
we don't currently know what people will think of my second round picks.
Do we?
Well,
there's been some chatter out there, guys. It seems like you're overwhelmingly kind of in my corner, which
but now
I'm shocked at, but also pretty relieved.
Well, I don't even think we should be talking about this because you're getting ahead. You're getting ahead of yourself.
At this point, will I be influencing anybody? Probably not.
No, because it will already be done.
I'm just celebrating my victory.
You might be eating your words. You might have to eat your words.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I see that. That's pretty wise.
You messed
Congrats, Az. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You won that.
Appreciate it.
But from our part 1 of Council of Elrond, we said listen all the way to Strawberries with Cream, and then let us know, do you prefer Barlaman Butterbur or Barlaman Butterbeer? We have about 37 votes to this point, and Barlaman Butterbur, the old fashioned, the regular, the actual is 57% of the votes. Barlaman Butterbeer 43, so pretty close. As
sure,
yeah. I had to go with Butterbeer myself because it just sounded dumb.
Yeah,
sounded too cool to pass up on. Michael Upshaw says, sure, Butterbeer is sweet and delicious, but Butterbur is just so wholesome and savory, like a nice salted ham. Butterbur any day.
All right.
Well, difference of opinion. It's okay.
Yeah. Good thing I don't make these polls. All right.
Whoa. Ouchie.
All right. All right. Cool. So, that was other corners. Any other? That's it, right? For the.
That's it.
Good.
That's about it.
Good, because we're gonna need that time, my friend, as we dive into some of this stuff here.
For you. Yep.
Awesome. All right. So into the reread, we got a couple things. We like to go back over some comments from the Facebook threads, several chapters back, actually. Mm-hmm. You know, as we get new comments, new people coming in and listening, they leave comments on past threads. It takes a little while to comb back through some of that, but I think we actually missed a week or a thread there. And so our good buddy Michael Upshaw hit us up, and we went back and looked. And I don't think we've read these, so if we have and we're redundant, I apologize. But
yeah,
just trying to keep track of it. I don't think we have, though. So they're kind of mixed and matched in the couple chapters back. But let's read through some of these, and then we'll get into the chapter, the Council of Elrond, after that. So I got the first one there, Michael Upshaw.
Sure. I just got to the part where you talk about the riders being pushed to the ford by the light and smaller shadows with torches, not torturers, and I got an awesome image. So imagine this. You are Pippin. You've just seen the river swell with the appearance of galloping horses and watched 3 black riders get swept away. Frodo is lost from sight somewhere on the other side. But before you still stand 6 of those embodiments of terror, Aragorn stoops down, grabs your shoulders, looks sternly into your eyes, and says, "It's go time." It's Elvish, I think, actually. Aragorn hands you and your Hobbit companions torches, and now you understand what must be done. You let out a battle cry, "Ah!" worthy of the mightiest of men, and together you run headlong towards death. To your left, you are flanked by Aragorn, unveiled in his full majesty, tall and proud. To your right, Glorfindel. Man, that is really sticking.
I love it.
Shining and furious glory. Elven Lord of Times Forgotten. Cue the ultra slow motion camera pan mid-battle cry, of course. Yeah, you can see it. Mm-hmm. Then, to your astonishment, instead of bracing to end your short time in Middle Earth, the riders turn and plunge into certain doom.
Yeah.
You are a hero. You saved the day. You will be sung about in pubs from Westmarch to Dale. Well, at least your companions will be. Love it. I love the creative writing that's coming about, guys. Like, you all have such amazing ways of sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas creatively. We heard Calais last episode talk about describing his home as if he were Tolkien writing about himself, and it's just so cool. It's so entertaining. I feel like we know all you guys already.
Yeah,
it's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. We got Charles here. Just listened to this episode and wanted to add some thoughts on the subject of why the race don't, insta-murder everyone.
Yeah, I like that.
I was always under the impression that it was for the fear of Aragorn, He is described and shown in the books and films to not only have great physical strength, but some kind of like king power or this like aura about him, right? That allows him to control men. Perhaps it's the same power that later allows him to take control of the dead men of Dunharrow later on. Being that the Wraiths were once kings themselves, but turned fully evil, their fear or perception of Aragorn as some kind of almost literal beacon of light. So at least that's how he kind of saw it. It makes a lot of sense, that connection. He does have some power. It's
yeah. And as much as I've thought about Aragorn, I've never really thought about that aspect during that conflict.
Yeah,
it makes total sense. They sense who he is. They sense, who he's come from, where he's come from, his lineage, and yeah, that would strike fear into their hearts for sure. I don't know why I never thought of it that way. That's beautiful. Thank you, Charles. That's amazing. Luca Michaeletsky, I'm just at the part where the Black Riders hesitate to go across the ford. It is not because it is a land border, but because they are very afraid of water. It is in the unfinished tale somewhere, maybe in some appendix, but it says they are truly terrified of water. I'll try to find that part. So just kind of like these, and I think I'd heard that somewhere before. That's definitely the impression you get from watching the movies.
Yeah, and you
get that idea that they're almost afraid to enter the water. Then Arwen challenges them. Yeah, then they're like, okay, if we have to, we'll come and get them. Use her words.
I can't remember where they talk about their the Witch King and the chief among them or whatever being the one who has to kind of. That the others were afraid. Yeah. That they are kind of there. That does bother them. I don't know. Yeah. I don't remember where I read this at either.
Yeah.
It might have been on the group, actually. Someone might have mentioned this.
I think it's tattooed on my back.
It's on your back. Okay.
And so when I was taking my shirt off and kind of
I was
washing the car.
I was scratching your back.
I was washing my car and it just kind of got wet and I was drying off, And then you parted the hair out of the way and you could read this.
Yeah. I had to
it's actually in Dwarvish.
It's combing out your back.
Which is weird.
What are we talking about right now? Why do you do this? Why do you do this?
One thought drives out another, my friend.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Locks.
But anyways, I think I had read that. So, Luca, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Now, let's dive into some of the, we've got some, what is the ring to you? More conversations. We talked about that last week, I think.
Yeah.
And even the week before, talking about the ring. And so we've got a couple of things here. Sean had mentioned that it's a symbol of corrupting power and evil. This object that ruins everyone in sight or possession of it, like Gollum, Frodo, and to a lesser extent Bilbo. Plus, Boromir going all
stark raving
mad. Yeah. It's that symbol of corrupting power and evil.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Michael Upshaw says, the way my 2-year-old acts around my phone always makes me think of Gollum and the Ring. He'll whine and complain for it, going back and forth between groveling and demanding. When he finally accepts the fact I won't let him play on it, he'll start saying, I just want to hold it. Please, just hold it. And it's really interesting. He brings this up, right? And when he's starting to get to the point where it's amazing, man. We'll have our phones out and we try to put them away. Like we have a phone bowl now. Remember how I was telling you about that? It's right there on the piano as.
Yeah.
See it?
Oh, cool.
And we keep our phones there when we get home so that we're not on them. But every once in a while we have to have them nearby if Sarah's gone or I'm gone or whatever, and we're at home with Winnie alone. And it's amazing how just having it out, she's drawn to it. Drawn to it, man. Like you try and put it away and she's looking for it. She's, oh, where is it? You know,
it's because you guys are using them and you're on.
I know, but even if it's just sitting
shiny
there,
too.
It's a shiny object of temptation, my friend.
Yeah.
Tolkien was onto something.
He was. Yep.
So that was cool. I can connect to that one now.
Yeah, that's cool. James West. James, by the way, thanks for all the comments, man. He often he comments on a lot of stuff, so we really appreciate that. The ring is just simply pure power and control over everything. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Victoria Rose Johnson says, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so this is how I think of it. It's the original Horcrux, but a lot worse. Sauron lives through it, and you feel its effects when you wear it. However, he also dictates where it goes, how it's used, and what power it has over you and everyone around you. It's an incredible piece of magic. Very true.
Yeah.
An extension of himself, a piece of him that goes living on and has all the same kind of power. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having deja vu here, man. I can't remember if we read.
I think we read that one.
I think.
Did we?
Or we read. Someone else mentioned a Horcrux. I just can't remember. So I can't remember. But anyways, if we reread one, Victoria, you know what? You're just so awesome that if we did,
liked it so nice, we read it twice.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Jeremy Price, though, the ring is temptation to do wrong or fail. Makes me wonder, what is the One Ring? The One Ring is is in a constant drive to bring its bearer to endless woe and misery, maybe even shame. I believe that we each must conquer our own One Ring by trekking through life all the way to Mount Doom to once and for all destroy the ultimate temptation we each bear. So really, we each must travel through Middle-earth on a quest to destroy our own One Ring.
I love what Jeremy's saying. And it kind of ties into what my kind of interpretation of what the ring is for me that I shared last time, and it makes a lot of sense. I love it. Yeah. I had another thought there, and it just totally popped out of my head.
No, you're cool though. It is. Well, we were talking before about allegory and applicability, right? And you had brought this up a lot with Tolkien and stuff, and just that it can mean a lot of. That's what Jory, I think it was last week, Jory Webb. So he said, to me, it's this. Yeah. And it can be. Yeah,
that's right.
I think that's the thing. Because right now it's like the things that it could represent here and now to us in this day and age are different from what it might have meant to people, 30, 40 years ago and maybe 100 years from now.
Right.
Right.
So you're right. And that's how it applies. It applies to everyone that way. And that's how we can each have our own One Ring.
And here's a question. Do you think actually in the story itself that the ring over time, we're talking over lots of time and different, people who it affected, did it affect Isildur different than it affected Bilbo Baggins?
I believe so.
You know what I'm
believe so. Absolutely.
Like, what was it to them?
Well, it's cool. The cool thing that it does in the movie, anyway, that they do such a good job of showing is how it calls to everyone differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think about when, at least uses their personal their names and calls them by name. There's a part at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring when Frodo has it, and he has it. The Fellowship is breaking. He's getting ready to leave.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's on the ruins of Amon Hen, and he's got his hand out, and he says, he's asking Aragorn, "Would you destroy it?" And you hear the ring calling to him.
Okay. Yeah.
Aragorn.
Yeah.
And then it ends with Elessar, which is his king name. So trying to tempt him by way of saying, I don't know,
like alluding, you could become,
right, alluding to your power,
yeah.
Or maybe what you are of a kingly line. Imagine what you could do with me. Others won't call you Elessar yet, but I will. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. That's neat. I never caught or thought that. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now let's jump into some. So we got a lot of comments again.
Holy cow! I thought we were done.
No, my friend. We're
Mamma mia.
recap now. So we're diving into so that was some stuff, some comments, from past threads and things that we had talked about a couple episodes ago. Now let's recap from last week. We finished up the Council of Elrond.
Yeah.
And there was a lot to kind of pull apart there. I thought part 2 was a little better than part 1 for you and I, but we did.
You were great both times.
Hey,
the wall of tired hit me in the middle of part 1, guys. Must have been Elrond. I don't know.
I think we're good.
Elrond's a sleepy pet place. It's okay.
Yeah. It's yeah. But as we cleared up though in part 2, the histories are sometimes what can be, takes a little more effort, and
I think that's why a lot of people don't like that. I think a lot of people don't like that chapter. I think it's
really?
I do. I think it's difficult to maneuver. I think it's hard to because there's a lot of. We did a lot of research before we got on those 2 episodes, and you have to do your homework more to understand exactly all the allusions and where we are in time and who's talking about who. And there were just names of things, and we're like, wait a minute, well, who exactly is that? And
it just takes time.
It does,
like you said, it just takes time to. And a desire, and you almost need to hit it at the right time, where you're ready to kind of dive into this history things. If you're just looking to plow through the plot, and stuff, then that's...
And I think a lot of people who read these books, especially if you've seen the movie already, you might be just kind of like, okay, well, let's get through this a little faster. I know what's coming next. Maybe I can skip over this. But you're right. If you hit it at the right time, or if you're able to not be put off by certain things, and like we've talked about, some people just all the names.
Yeah, for sure.
The names are difficult, and for me too. I'm like, well, man, okay, what? I can't even remember who that guy. What's his name?
We were talking before the podcast too. The way in which Tolkien wrote. He had the world created beforehand, and so easily makes these subtle references and allusions back to, alluding to a great song or poem or something in his own history and world building that he's already done. So to us, we're like, what?
Yeah. That maybe at that time he wrote or hadn't even wrote yet, but it was in his head.
Could you imagine? At one point, when the Silmarillion and these things weren't published.
Yeah.
What was it like to read this? What would that have been?
I don't know.
You would have been your mind would have been running wild, right? You didn't have you didn't have those books to go look up the answers to. Yeah. So, sometimes I almost like that,
I do too. I guess what it kind of reminds me of is when I read it as a 12, 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah, same here.
I knew the Silmarillion was around, but when you're 14 years old, all people say is it's really hard to read.
Yeah.
It's a really hard book. You kind of want to stay away from it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I will, or maybe I'll get to it later.
I as a youngster in middle school and high school, didn't even really know how it would relate to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like, oh.
So maybe that's what it felt like. I don't know. Yeah.
So, okay. Awesome. But anyways, we were into Council of Elrond, and we got through that, and now we have to pick our fellowship, essentially.
Yeah, we had a cool draft.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
So we had that, which was
and I don't want to say I don't know. I don't know who won. I don't know who came out north on that one, man.
Yeah, you don't yet, so don't say anything. Okay, so we did get some comments, though, for Council of Elrond Part 1. Next week, what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll get Council of Elrond Part 2 comments, because, again, we're recording this before, Lane heads out for vacation there. Yeah. But Michael Upshaw, as always, I wanted so badly to vote for the Wizards. And you know what? Don't worry. Michael, you'll have your chance when you see, at this point in time, he will have seen, part 2 of, the draft.
It was more of the same, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, whatever. So anyways, he says, your picks are killing me. I hope you draft Gollum, because the only thing Frodo, proved was that he couldn't hack it. He was going to fill the king, Aragorn's shoes. Lowly Stewart's son, ? No.
See, I wish I could be there when Michael listens and hears that I actually picked Gollum. I wanna just see in his face, like, wow, throw his hands up and go, it's Lane's. Lane won.
There's one more pick that I can't wait to watch everyone's expression. And
my number 9?
You're number 10. Wasn't your number 9? Were there 10? Were there 10 people in the
Lane breaking all the rules,
Lane
baby.
picked 10 people. Wasn't fair at all. My God.
Yeah, no.
No, you're number 9. Yeah,
that'll either draw people closer or further away. You're right.
Yeah, your number 9 was wacko. No, it was beautiful. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make any sense
Tammy,
within the context of the story.
Tammy, I
but
love you.
Yeah, it was Tammy Lane has got it. She should have been my number one. Honestly, I feel kind of bad that I didn't, but you're good. I wanted to go with the element of surprise. I made a comment. I can't remember what I said, but Michael Upshaw says he said Lane Smith, no worries. I think you sealed the win with your number 2 pick. I just wanted to vote for Ez because I love the team name. I want to again see his face when he realizes, or if when he realizes now that I made the team name up. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I had some influence there.
Ouch. You want to read that next one?
Yeah, all right. In regards to this whole draft thing, as a Frodo without Sam is going to die real quick.
This is almost, you know what though? I was talking to Goldberry about this, and I was like, I agree, but I think we underestimate Frodo. There's something magical about. I mean, because
I appreciate you saying that.
We know what happens in the end, but I was thinking about your pick. I'm like, you know what? I would pick Frodo way over Bilbo. Way over Bilbo.
Yeah.
Of all the ring bearers, I think I'd pick Frodo first. And honestly, in hindsight, I don't know how well Sam would do. I think Sam's almost too pure to...
Sam's a good pick.
To even... Yeah, I guess. I don't know, though. So anyway...
I just want to go on record.
I want to defend Frodo right there.
I said
Matt's
Sam was
got
a good
point,
pick.
But you did.
I did say that.
I think maybe you might have shot yourself in the foot.
I might have just...
People listen to you guys.
All right. He said... let's see. There's no one else that would take him to Mordor, and Gollum isn't going to let Frodo stay ring bearer for long if he's got options. Lane, on the other hand, you've got it clinched already. Sam has a ring bearer, perfect. He's not very confident in himself, but he'd sure let Aragorn show him the way, lead him there. Not to mention, you've got all the foresight in Arwen to warn you of future troubles.
Can you read that next line for me?
I don't think I need to.
I
think it was a typo.
Matt wrote it. I think you should probably do the amount.
It was a typo. Team New Zealand all the way.
Could you say it like there's an exclamation point? Maybe like you're excited or...
I just you asked me to read it and I read it. Okay?
Right.
Let's move on.
Fair enough. Hannah Kildo Estes, really good hearing from her again. She's been with us from the very beginning, and so it's really cool to hear her comment again. She says, "Hey fellas, I haven't finished the episode yet, but I've really been looking forward to the conversation on this chapter. For me, this chapter was one of the first that really helped me connect some of the dots that I had been missing from the movies. I always felt like I was missing something when the Fellowship goes to Moria, or got to Moria. I understood that dwarves had lived there, and naturally Gimli would be devastated to realize the fate of his kinsmen, but I had no idea that the dwarves outside of Moria had been afraid for them. I also didn't realize that these would have been the same dwarves that I knew from The Hobbit once it came out.
Yep.
Anyway, great job as always. I can't wait to get back on the road so I can listen to the rest."
Yeah.
So thanks, Hannah. Yeah, you're right. That really does. And again, what the books always do, it seems, true always, is they give you more of that context. They paint the fuller picture. There's certain stuff that you can't put in the movie because it would just take too long. Kind of like how we said we weren't going to, talk very long in this episode, and here we go again.
Right.
But the book just enriches that. It's all about those details and the context of the details and the details.
So thank you, Hannah.
Details. Thank you very much, Hannah. Yeah. Always good points.
All right. So some good comments from from part 1 of the council. Like I said, we'll get part 2 next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Summary after the council meeting here. Basically, we stay in Rivendell for a while, 2 months, I think, and scouts are sent out. We're looking for a good way. We kind of decide that we need to go south.
It's very different from the movies that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very different. It feels like we leave the next day or a couple days after. At the council, everyone says, hey, yeah, I'm joining you. Sword, axe, bow, you got it.
You got it, yeah.
And it's very different from that.
Very different, yeah. Yeah, it takes some time. And actually, I think it's, Elrond kind of decides that, Aragorn, Boromir, Gimli, Legolas, all those guys are going to go with him. And there's a couple spots left open. We'll see who fills those spots.
Yep.
And then they take off, and we have some trouble along the way. It's actually not a whole lot. I can't believe I'm saying this week. Lane has said it before.
I was shocked that he said this, guys.
Not a whole
He's
lot,
right.
Not a whole lot happens. I mean, it's cool, but I think the first part of this is more significant than what happens on Caradhras, right?
Yeah.
So
I do love that the title is kind of a double meaning. The ring geographically is going south, but also this whole venture kind of goes south.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Their plans go south.
Okay.
It doesn't really work out
Yeah.
the way they were hoping it would.
Gotcha.
And they sort of, you're right. We end this chapter feeling kind of defeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start back at the beginning here and just kind of take a look at what we have going on. I think something that we're going to kind of do more bigger takeaways, I think, from this than actually kind of go through it piece by piece. One of the things I thought was neat is that they do scout the way, that they do have a bunch of scouts out looking and things. And I think Elrond at some point mentions that it's like the best route is direct. It's almost like they might be. If I'm filling in, I'm reading between the lines here that, if they were to send the ring any other way, as I said during the council, if they were to send it back on the road
back west,
that would be difficult. I think that would be
predictable.
Yeah, it would be something that Sauron would be expecting.
Yeah.
And so I doubt he expects them to send a small number, of the small fellowship directly at him.
Yeah.
And that's the way in which they take.
I know.
So that's kind of huge. I mean, there's wisdom in that, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, but what else goes on here at the beginning? I mean, Pippin, we've got to decide the last couple, folks in on this thing, and they're upset with Sam that Sam got chosen right away.
That's right. It's
most unfair.
I just love to. I guess it's the difference too of how in the movie it's all like very spontaneous. And it seems like they decide in that moment, like maybe they didn't know before they were going to go with Frodo, and they decide it's very reactionary. But here it shows just how deliberate it was, like the choosing of the members of the Fellowship. Elrond even talks about, I'm going to choose 9 members of the Fellowship to match the 9 riders, so that they have a counterpart, 9v9 pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I had forgotten that they were upset that Sam gets chosen.
Yeah.
Like he's not worthy, right? Because Pippin and Merry are, if you think about the class system of the hobbits, they're more elevated than Sam.
They are. And
so if hobbits are going, they should be going too. They should get first dibs, shouldn't they?
Yeah, he says, instead of throwing him out and clapping him in chains, Elrond goes and rewards him for his cheek. And it's just funny the passion that Pippin has,
Yes.
And it's really I think he's saying that kind of like, he is sort of like, what? Are you kidding me? We should be going too, type of thing.
Yeah.
He's probably glad that Sam is going, if he really could not go, I think he would be happy that Sam is going with his friend because the friendship, you know, that's the whole piece that kind of gets.
Frodo's Sam's master.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is this piece of, not to jump way ahead, but it's something that Gandalf says that maybe we should, look to their friendship more than, what wisdom, with the wise, I forget how he said that, but it's more
friendship and loyalty over wisdom and strength or something like that. Yeah. Or more important, or will prove more important. Yeah. It's interesting too. It kind of mirrors also like how, how Gandalf says that. It's also like how he said, it's good that you don't go alone. Remember when he leaves the Shire and Sam goes with him? Mm-hmm. He says it's best not, take someone if you can.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It would be better that you don't go alone. It's kind of interesting how
Gandalf
has this, like we talked about, his wisdom and his foresight, unmatched.
Right. It is.
It's just unbelievable. So there's a reason that, elves like Elrond go to him to seek counsel.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he gets his. I think we always think of like Elrond as being, like the most elevated, and Gandalf's going to. It's like he sees Gandalf as a source of information and inspiration and knowledge.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Very wise.
I did think it was cool. So we're always talking about Frodo dreaming, right? Mm-hmm. So we at the beginning here we talk about he's obviously like upset or whatever, is thinking like a reward to come with me. It's not a reward, Pippin.
Right? No.
And he says, just yesterday I dreamed that my task was done and I could rest here a while, perhaps for good.
Yeah.
So we're seeing his conflict there. He's like, man, you know what? I thought I was done. Whether it was a real dream he had at night, like all of his other prophetic dreams, or whether it was just him, daydreaming. But kind of interesting. Frodo's not real anxious to start this quest up again, and mm-hmm. he knows that burden of the ring.
Yeah. Gotcha. But yeah, I'm with you on that. So another thing that we kind of get here in the beginning that's interesting is they talk about what was surprising to Gandalf and what wasn't surprising. Sorry, Lane and I are trying to table talk there, and that was not going well. You will never be my partner.
I don't read lips.
In euchre.
I do not read lips. Don't even know what euchre is.
Okay, cool. Well,
is that when you
that's the
communion stuff?
Exactly.
Euchre is?
Yep.
Eucharist.
Okay. But no, Gandalf is surprised, right? Or he's not surprised by anything except for what was it? Let's see. Was it Frodo's story that caught him off guard? Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Where does he say that though?
I don't know.
You're right.
Oh, you were wrong, said Gandalf. You were inattentive. I had already heard of it, from Gwahir. If you wanted to know, the only real eye opener, as you put it, were you and Frodo. I was the only one that was not surprised. So he's not surprised, but I think to that council, the stories of Bilbo and Frodo were significant. Yeah. And actually, I think Elrond says that.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does. That's right.
So, but it's just more, evidence that the hobbits are significant major players. Have a role to play.
And underestimated.
It's the time of the Shire folk.
Underrated. That's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So they send their scouts out, and they're looking, paving the way there. Let's see.
Yeah, and actually, it's very interesting. I mean, Aragorn goes with them.
Yes.
Right. He goes with Elrohir and Eladin, and they go out and scouting to see exactly. I mean, pretty much what happens is they go out to scout to see if there's any presence of the enemy. If the Black Riders have returned, if Mordor's moving, if anything is coming out of Isengard, and they don't really find anything, right? Mm-hmm. They don't really find anything. There's no sign of the riders. There's no sign of movement. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think
no sign of Gollum. Right? They were also looking for Gollum to see if he was out and about.
Right, and one of the things is I think they want to move.
At the right time.
At the right time, because it could just be taking time for word to get back to Sauron.
Yeah.
That things have happened, to the 9. So, okay. So, anyways, they start to talk about the ring wraiths and whether they were destroyed or not, and Gandalf gives us some more. We've talked about that I think a little bit, but talking about how that they aren't, and the form that they take is a little different. We hope that they were all unhorsed and unmasked, and so for a while less dangerous, but we must find out for certain.
And I think, didn't Gandalf reveal this to Frodo before, but not Merry?
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's why he's going back. And is that right? I think it is.
It could be, yeah.
I can't totally remember, but yeah, some more clarification there.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. For a while, the hobbits continued to talk and think of the past journey, of the perils that lay ahead. But such was the virtue of the land of Rivendell that soon all fear and anxiety was lifted from their minds. And so they get this time to kind of just even relax a little more.
Relax. Yep.
And prepare.
I bet Frodo got to go explore that little piney woods that he wanted to check out. I bet he had time to do that. Yeah. Right. Health and hope grew strong in them, and they were content with each day as it came, taking pleasure in every meal and in every word and song. Mm-hmm. Which, obviously is much needed, from watching the films and from reading it previously, if you have before, that they're about to enter into something really dark. Things aren't going to go very well. There's a lot of adversity ahead of them. And so, again, we talked about this again and again, how we have this incredible challenge and then a little bit of rest. Mm-hmm. Another amazing step of our journey where we're challenged and there's a lot of adversity and then a rest. And so we're just getting another one of those rests right now. I don't know how anticipated it was. I think maybe they were thinking that the council would meet and then it would be pretty quick, because you heard all this talk of Gandalf saying, I waited too long. I took too long. It was my fault. We were in this bad position because of me. And so maybe that was part of it. But they're getting a little bit of time to relax.
Yeah, for sure they are.
2 months.
2 months worth, yep. And actually, I thought an interesting piece is as the writers go out and the scouts and Elrond's sons and everyone, they actually go to the House of Radagast.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, I had that underlined, something that he wasn't there,
not there,
and I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
What's he doing?
Where is he?
Where's he at?
He's in my fellowship. That's where he is.
Yes, he is.
What could I have found him? That's the only thing.
Yeah. And as you'd already said, they find no sign.
I love this. This is beautiful here, too. The hobbits had been there nearly 2 months in the House of Elrond, and November had gone by with the last shreds of autumn. Just a beautiful way to say it. Mm-hmm. And December was passing. It's interesting to think about it starting to get cooler. December is a pretty cold time to get started, but that's what fate would have. So
Yeah. Here's where I was thinking earlier. I just got to it where they talk about the 9 and how many of them are accounted for. 8 out of the 9 are accounted for at least. But they were looking for the bodies of the horses and things like that, trying to figure out, who was left. So
yeah.
But
all right, I think also Gandalf has a good point that they returned to Mordor.
Yeah.
Right. They went back to their master and they were empty.
For sure.
And yeah.
For sure. Okay, now let's move on here a little bit. Elrond actually summons the hobbits to him. The time has come. If the ring is to set out, it must go soon. But those who go with it must not count on their errand being aided by war or by force. So really, again, kind of a secrecy type of thing. This is not going to be done with a lot of help.
Yeah.
You think about that. It's a lot on these 9 companions.
Yeah, for sure.
So they must pass into the domain of the enemy, far from aid. Do you still hold to your word, Frodo, that you will be the ring bearer? And he says, he says, I do, and I will go with Sam.
Yeah. Giving him a chance to make sure that he's really made his mind on that, because it was his decision, right? He wasn't asked to take the ring. He volunteered. So making sure that he's still true to that. I have the next couple paragraphs sort of highlighted. Do you care if I read them?
Yeah, go for it.
Then I cannot help you much, not even with counsel, said Elrond. I can foresee very little of your road ahead, and how your task is to be achieved I do not know. The shadow has crept now to the feet of the mountains, and draws nigh even to the borders of the Grey Flood, and under the shadow all is dark to me. You will meet many foes, some open and some disguised, and you may find friends upon your way when you least look for it. I will send out messages, such as I can contrive, to those whom I know in the wide world. But so perilous are the lands now become, that some may well miscarry or come no quicker than you yourself. And I will choose your companions to go with you, as far as they will or fortune allows. The number must be few, since your hope is in speed and secrecy. Had I a host of elves in armor of the elder days, it would avail little, save to arouse the power of Mordor.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. He sort of has, there's a little bit of prophecy there. He talks about, you'll meet foes that you might not even expect.
Right.
The shadow is closing ever nearer. And then the promise that, I'll send messages and I'll help out any way I can.
Yeah, he does kind of foresee things that could happen to this company,
yeah.
and go as far as you can.
Yeah.
Go for as long as you can, but trust in each other.
Right.
We'll get to it here in a second, but even in the bearing of the ring, he instructs Frodo to only trust in that fellowship,
the members within,
if he needs to. Or their counsel. The wise, right, so to speak. So they go over the count, as we mentioned, Legolas, Gimli. They go over those folks. Frodo is most struck by Strider going. Super happy that Strider is going with him.
Yeah, that's right. He reacts. Doesn't? Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
definitely.
He's super happy about that. He would have begged him to go, but he thought that he was going to Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
and actually he is.
Right.
He's going with Boromir.
Right.
I thought it was cool. He says that he is basically taking the sword that was broken. He's reforging it.
Right.
And he is very much right there taking. Doesn't he take the sword with him? He takes the sword that was broken with him.
Yeah, with him. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different than in the movie, right?
Different than the movie.
Yeah. So
not as dramatic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's pretty, way more meaningful, I think. So it's almost like he's going on this fellowship, but really it's to guide them as long as he can get to Minas Tirith, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just kind of an interesting. That's a difference from the movie.
Yep. Yeah. So
ultimately, it's like his quest and Frodo's quest, or they'll mirror each other until that point.
Until that point.
And they kind of do anyway, I guess. But the original intentions was for him to go until he got there, and then boom, he's off to
do his own thing.
Yeah. It's just interesting to think that's different. Yeah.
And that would have got him pretty dang far if he could have kept going with him. But things
parting at the Black Gate. Hey, you go this way. I go this way.
See ya.
See you later.
Have fun over
Good
there.
luck, man.
Yeah. So Boromir goes with him, though. They're going together. He calls him a valiant man, kind of talks Boromir up a little bit, which I think is neat. Now, let's see. They talk about the hobbits not really knowing what lies ahead. But I got to be honest with you, man. I think, do any of them really understand what lies ahead? I get the
full extent of it.
I get that Legolas and Gimli and those guys maybe have seen war, or they've seen different parts of the Middle Earth, and the Shire folk have lived in peace, and they don't know, what's out there, and maybe that's something that is helpful,
right?
Because they talk about how if Pippin and Merry knew, they needed 2 more companions. If they knew what was coming,
right,
they wouldn't, sign up for this or whatever. But Frodo doesn't. Gandalf says, well, Frodo doesn't either.
That's true.
Elrond is actually suggesting 2 of his household, perhaps even Glorfindel, to go with them.
Yeah.
And, Pippin does not have any of that. Decides that.
Well, and you're right. Gandalf even says, you're right. He says, neither does Frodo, but he also says, nor do any of us see clearly.
There you go.
So, yeah, you're right. I mean, and if anyone, I mean, they've been through a lot of garbage already. They've had encounters with 9 of the most powerful, presences in Middle Earth at this time, the ring wraiths.
Right.
So they've been there for that.
Right.
For quite a while. So yeah, you're right. They're not as ignorant as maybe we might think. You're right.
Well, and he even says Gandalf is. It's amazing how much he thinks about these hobbits, because he says that if they didn't go, this friendship, he realizes the friendship between these 4, and they've actually endured quite a bit up to this point. And if they didn't go, they'd be ashamed. They'd always be wondering, or they'd be trying to go, or whatnot. Now, the one thing I might disagree with Gandalf on here, he says, have
you ever said that before?
I don't think I have.
Ooh.
But even if you choose for us an elf lord, such as Glorfindel, he could not storm the Dark Tower nor open the road to the fire by the power that is in him.
Ooh.
I don't think so.
Glorfindel.
I think he could. Yeah, I think he could. I think there's more that Glorfindel could have done. But anyways,
Glorfindel's brother.
He's in my fellowship, by the way.
Is Glorfin Mac.
Didn't know that.
Del and Mac.
I gotcha. Anyways, but he says. Now, we had someone mention in the group, I think, talking about, how Elrond is speaking about Pippin, and how, he was more worried because he was okay with Merry, but then he was almost just sort of like, Pippin, I don't know. The younger one, my heart, something in my heart, how did he put that?
Yeah, is against him going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pippin has none of that. He's going
to... Yeah, send me home tied up in a sack.
I'll run after him.
Otherwise, I'll be there.
Yeah. So... okay.
They get about a week to further rest up and get together, and then they're off. They have to depart.
Yeah. So there's a reforging of the sword, which is pretty neat.
Can I read this part?
Yeah, you read that because that's all you.
The sword of Elendil was forged anew by elvish smiths, and on its blade was traced a device of 7 stars set between the crescent moon and the rayed sun, and about them was written many runes. For Aragorn, son of Arathorn, was going to war upon the marches of Mordor. Very bright was the sword when it was made whole again. The light of the sun shone redly in it, and the light of the moon shone cold, and its edge was hard and keen. And Aragorn gave it a new name and called it Anduril, Flame of the West. So much cool stuff there.
The light's back in it.
Yep. And the 7 stars, for the 7 stars of Gondor, the sun and the moon, which were on there originally, and yeah, pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
And they explain what the hobbits are doing. They kind of stick together, right?
Yeah.
And in those last couple of days, they're in the Hall of Fire, where we were. Remember, it was kind of sleepy in there, a lot of singing and storytelling.
Yeah.
And they hear of the lay of Beren and Luthien.
Yeah.
And the winning of the Great Jewel.
Yeah.
Which is something, Beren and Luthien is the first thing that we're going to be doing in July for our Patreon series.
And also a great quest and something very dangerous, and a journey that they took to try and, instead of get rid of something, try and claim something.
Yeah, exactly.
To save their love.
Yep.
So kind of interesting sort of parallel / not there. And yeah.
Bilbo's reading passages from his books. It's just a nice little time for them to kind of, I think it's
probably made it feel like they're back in the Shire.
Well, it's also, that and to be with Bilbo.
Yeah.
Last little bit of time to kind of spend with him and things. So, and honestly, well, here we go.
I wonder if they even asked him some advice. What tips do you have for going on an adventure?
I bet he just told him. I bet he told him. Yeah, he was just telling.
Well, if you're not going to ask, I'll tell you anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, dude.
No. We're getting to it here. On the morning of the last day, Frodo was alone with Bilbo.
Yeah.
This is pretty neat. This is when he gets to present to him Sting.
And also his Mithril.
Yes.
Chainmail shirt.
Yeah. Which is pretty neat. Has him, and they keep it a secret. He does wear it underneath his clothes.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone knows he has it. We know that later,
No.
right? It's
Yeah.
this big surprise.
Yeah.
So which is pretty cool. And
The
it's interesting.
descriptions are so
by
beautiful.
by the time you get to the point where that comes back into play, the mail, you might have forgotten it.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty good thing.
And it's only, what, a paragraph here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's real
real quick.
He wears it,
Yeah.
but later on it's super important.
Big time.
More to, this Hobbit that meets the eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is neat. So, yeah, I think that's about it there with Bilbo. He's going to go with them eventually to say their goodbye and things. But he, what else?
He sings a little song eventually.
He does sing a little song. Yeah, it's kind of a sad song too.
It is.
It's a little sad, but it's also kind of it almost puts me in like when I think about the
That
song.
time. Oh,
Well, in that time of year.
time of year. I was
Yeah,
gonna
'cause
say,
it is very relevant to the time
reflective and contemplative.
Yeah,
and,
it's almost as and he sings the song after he's done talking to Frodo and giving them these gifts and things, and it's almost as if this is what Bilbo's going to be doing.
You're right. Yeah.
This is
Sitting
what
by the
this
fire and thinking. Yeah.
It is exactly what he's
Yeah.
going to be kind of doing.
It's his new role in this adventure going forward.
Yeah, he's gonna be-
not an active player. He's sitting there and just wondering.
Yeah, wondering. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's waiting for listening for returning feet, and voices at the door,
Yeah.
and I think that's just really neat. So
Yeah, it really is.
I guess we'll sing it a little bit. I sit beside the fire and think of all that I have seen, of meadow flowers and butterflies in summer that have been, of yellow leaves and gossamer in autumn that there were, with morning mist and silver sun and wind upon my hair. I sit beside the fire and think of how the world will be. For still there are so many things that I have never seen. In every wood, in every spring, there is a different green. I sit beside the fire and think of people long ago, and people who will see a world that I shall never know. But all the while I sit and think of times there were before, I listen for returning feet and voices at the door. What do you think?
Boom.
That's okay.
Well done, man.
Right.
That's your best rendition yet, I should say.
No, I think I could have done.
Beautiful.
Could have done a little better.
Not
but,
sure about that.
We'll need again.
You kind of channeled your inner Bilbo voice there.
Well, anybody who wants to
character.
record some songs and send them in,
We're waiting, guys.
actually
we're ready for you.
Here's the thing: if people will record those before the chapter comes up, we'll play them in the
Yes, we
in
will.
place of
Yes, we will.
our own singing.
Our own.
So
Yeah.
just throwing it out there for you guys.
Album coming fall of this year, so just get ready for it.
It's time for them to gear
Get
up.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in secrecy. Take off. Let's get them out of here. They go over what everyone wears, which is kind of neat, but at the same time, it's the biggest thing is that Boromir blows his horn.
Yep.
On their way out and says he won't go as a thief into the night,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Oh, and he's so proud of that too. And they took little gear of war, right? So you think about that. Their hope isn't in
Exactly.
battle; it's in
Yeah.
the secrecy. I do have to read what Aragorn was wearing real quick. Aragorn had Anduril, but no other weapon, and he went forth clad only in rusty green and brown as a ranger of the wilderness. Come on, man! My favorite colors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that's pretty neat.
Yep, so they're off.
They take. They also mentioned Bill. Pretty neat that the relationship, right, between you like this a lot, and so do I. Between Bill and Sam.
Sam, especially. Yeah.
He's like it's
he
as
really
if
is like the 10th member
he
of
is
the Fellowship.
He is. It's as if Bill can talk.
That's right. That's right. One pony to rule them all, as Katie says.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they're saying their farewells, right? Those were said in the Great Hall by the fire, and now they're only waiting for Gandalf. And Gandalf is talking with Elrond, right, for a little while there. And I think there for a time too. We kind of glossed over it in the beginning, but Aragorn and Gandalf are also together, thick as thieves, walking around.
Yeah.
We'll see later on that they're actually debating the way in which they should go, their
That's
course.
right.
They're kind of
That's
plotting
right.
a course.
Which is something that gets kind of lost. We were talking about this before the episode. It kind of gets lost in the movies. It's more kind of like Gandalf is the one who's the sole leader. But we talked about how it's almost not, that's not as true to the nature of Gandalf. You know, what happens in the book really is he's an advisor. He's there to give wisdom and to give direction, but not necessarily to lead solely. And so really it's Aragorn who has, he kind of yields to Aragorn. And I think in the movies we always think of it as Aragorn or everyone else pretty much yielding to Gandalf, and it's very different here. So
it is different.
It's a quest of it's a quest to redeem the any redeeming qualities of men. Yeah. Right? It's to save mankind.
Yeah, it is.
And so,
well, and you know, one of the things, we'll get to it later, but the path in which they choose, I think Gandalf had a different idea as to the way in which they should go, and Aragorn has another idea of his own. And Gandalf, once it doesn't work out, he kind of says to him, like, "Hey, you want to reconsider now?
Is now the time to head back?"
And he really is not being, I don't think,
no, he's not being an ass.
No, he's actually just sort of like
trying to help us.
There is a couple ways to go, and they have to.
He's almost like that
conscience, the best too. You know?
Yeah, he's like that conscience voice almost that you're.
Yeah. So they say their farewells. I like what Sam says to Bill. The pony says, "Bill, my lad, you oughtn't to have took up with us. You could have stayed here and ate the best hay till the new grass comes." Yeah. And he just swishes his tail and says nothing. He's ready to go.
It said he was the only member of the company that did not seem depressed.
Yeah. Right.
Because compared to where he came from, I guess going right into Mordor is better than being with Bill Fernie.
Yeah, his time in Rivendell did wonders for him. So
revived him.
Yeah. But now, what is the one thing that Sam forgets? You know, he's been packing. You know, rope.
His rope. That's right.
You know.
Dang
it. You know, a bit of rope.
Oh, you said you'd need it, and now you want it.
Well, I also like too that he packs all the stuff that he thinks his master forgot to pack.
Yeah, and forgets the one thing.
He's like, oh wait, he'll want this, you know. And when he goes to searching for it, oh, Mr. Frodo, I packed it for you, you know, type of thing. So, okay, so they're getting ready. Elrond kind of says to them, I think it's kind of neat here. He says, "This is my last word." The ring bearer is setting out on the quest of Mount Doom. On him alone is any charge laid, neither to cast away the ring, nor to deliver it to any servant of the enemy, nor indeed to let any handle it, save members of the company and the council, and only in the gravest need. So he kind of gives that charge one more time there, and he has a little back and forth with Gimli, and then Bilbo basically says, you know, good luck, you know, and he kind of, I love how many times has he told Frodo, my lad, you know, don't forget to take, you know,
do some writing,
you know, a diary or you know, some journaling, you know, gonna need it for the book, or don't forget, you know. And it's neat because Bilbo says it so much in the first leg of this journey. You're gonna hear some winds blowing, and you're gonna hear, you know, that's all actually that Frodo can kind of remember.
Yeah, from that, you know? You're right.
Yeah. Let's see.
Also, a cool point we talked about too is that, you know, the charge is laid on Frodo.
Yeah.
Not on any that go with him. You know, they go with him as long as they can, but there's no expectation for them to stay, you know, longer than they will. Nope. So that's kind of interesting too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So we've said our farewells. Elrond's household standing there too, saying goodbye, and we're ready to take off, you know.
Silent and mournful, no music. Yeah. No laughter.
Nope. They actually, they're heading on down. They take one last glance at the last homely house twinkling below them, and they strode away far into the night. And, you know, actually, they do go under cover of night most of the time. You know,
they do.
Actually, it's one of the it's the opposite of what really they were doing when the Nine, you know, were pursuing them.
True.
It's just because they don't want to be seen. Yeah. Even though there's power. You know, I think the Dark Lord and the Nine have extra powers, it seems like, at night. You know, and that's kind of more risky, but at the same time, it's a risk they're willing to take. They have to travel that way until they're far enough away from Rivendell that they can then travel during the day.
You're right, because they've been tracked to Rivendell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think that they're on their way to start a podcast.
Sure they are.
I mean... Why else would they be going?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
I think it's high time that we start our own.
Yeah.
But you know,
let's do it.
Gotta get the name just right.
True.
Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I got one for you. Maybe Chase McKinney's Fortnite Pod podcast.
Oh, I like that. I like that. It's obviously Chase's idea in the podcast. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't forget the snuffing podcast.
What?
Gandalf has a snuff of air in this chapter.
Are you kidding me?
And so maybe we sniff it, snuff it, whatever kind of a thing. But there's one, sniff, snuff.
Sniff, snuff. Coming to you soon. Oh, man.
Anything else?
Yeah, maybe like a plague and a nuisance.
Ooh, these are catchy. A lot of sayings in this chapter.
Yeah, plague and a nuisance.
How about Between Fire and Death podcast? Could do. No, there have been whispers of death metal on the Facebook group and page or whatever. Maybe we go Between Fire and Death Metal. What do you think?
That'd be radical. That would be radical. We'll get there. We'll get there, my friend.
Getting closer, right?
Yeah, maybe one day we'll get her going.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. They get that wind. We get that wind kind of lapping up that they encounter. They head southwards, right? They went on this narrow path. They're actually going up along southward of the Misty Mountains.
That's right.
And I think this is interesting. Remember, when you're heading south, and if you want to look at a map, it might help. The mountains seem to kind of, as they jut out, keep taking them westward, and they almost have to kind of fight back. They want to stay as close as they can to that. It's a narrow path, and they said that they chose this way because not many. They didn't want to go on the other side of the mountain pass. Maybe they could have passed it over, through the range easier here in Rivendell. There was probably easier ways to get across, but then they would have been, east of the Misty Mountains, and going down the east side might have been spotted by the enemy.
Sure.
So they're kind of using that the range as cover, to go as far south as they can.
And also, too, if you think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to pull up a map, though. I'm pretty sure pretty much straight across, right, is the area of Mirkwood. Yeah. And, there's an ancient power that's been there before, so it would take them too close to that as well.
That's right.
They got to be careful where they head because they don't know.
Actually, the enemy we learned earlier is kind of surrounding Dale as well too. So as they go south of the Misty, or as Mirkwood, they run into some of even near the Lonely Mountain and Dale. They've got enemies on the east of them, is what they said earlier. But still, they're worried about more coming up from the south.
Yeah.
And so,
if you think about it too, when Gollum was held, he was in Mirkwood.
Yes.
And there was an orc raid that overpowered the elves.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't want to, they want to steer clear, get as far south as they can. But now they have that threat of Saruman, who's due south.
Exactly.
I mean, you'd feel hemmed in on every side, man.
It is that's the road in which they take, the path that they consider, it's very important to pick the right way.
And you can see now why Gandalf was saying, I've waited too long. More roads are now closed than they had been, and so you're really starting to see what he meant by that, and kind of his fears there.
Yep.
Woo! On that note,
so Gandalf walks out in front, and I think he's up there with Aragorn. They're kind of leading the way. Legolas and his keen eyes are back there taking the rear guard.
That's right.
Let's see. They seldom felt warm. Right, as they're going, they slept uneasily during the middle of the day. They were in some of the hollow of the land or hidden under the tangled thorn bushes. That grew in the thicket. It's just uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It was cold and cheerless as a rule.
Yeah.
So they could seldom risk, lighting a fire. In the evening, they went on always nearly southward as they could find. The hobbits. It's funny, later on they get a little confused, right? They're like, because they do tend to bend back westward. That's just because of the foothills and then the way in which they had to kind of cut back, westward and stuff. And when they get to Caradhras, like, it's so big that they do have to kind of maneuver. Either around it or they have to go up over it.
Their view changed. Yeah, that's right.
They get to a place though, and Lane, you can help me out with this.
Think about when the weather changed.
Yeah, well, the weather changed. Was that when they were in Holland?
Yeah, leading up to that.
Leading up to that.
Been out about a fortnight, and the weather changed, but it may have lasted into. I don't totally remember. Let me see real quick.
Yeah, no, you're right. The wind suddenly fell, and then veered around to the south. Because there's a piece here where I didn't know if I highlighted it, but where Frodo, actually, that's all he thinks he can remember. He thinks back to Bilbo.
Yeah.
sharing what
And his instructions.
Yeah, his instructions.
Yeah.
And all he can remember from the first little bit of their journey is that it was just windy. So, anyways.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So, okay, let's read on here a little bit more, though. Gandalf stood at Frodo's side and looked out under his hand. "We have done well," he said. "We've reached the borders of the country that the men called Hollin. Many elves lived here." So just before that is where I was talking that it's kind of they don't really talk about what happened or how long what do you say, a fortnight or something like that?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
That they've been going.
Yep.
And there's not much to remember. So I think we're going to breeze right on through it.
Yeah, and it was this land is kind of ruined, right? They can see all these remnants of like old stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this area, and I thought that name
In
looked
Holland?
in Holland that name looked familiar.
Yeah.
And actually, Eregion was populated by Noldor, and for a while was ruled by Galadriel and Celeborn.
Yeah.
So, and it was a power in the Second Age and has a lot of history there too. So also we're seeing kind of like the remnants of this presence there. Again, just an allusion back to his.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that makes a lot of
backstory.
sense. I didn't realize that, because that's actually why Legolas says that the elves that were in this land were kind of foreign to him.
Yeah.
You know, and they had actually left air quote many of them. Maybe not. Some of them had obviously stayed. You know,
right.
But they left for the Havens.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Let's see, though. But I think one of the reasons why Gandalf is okay to kind of settle and chill out here in Holland for a little bit is because of the elves. It would take a great amount of evil to really undo this place and to make it unwhole, you know?
Yeah.
So
does he talk about the remnant powers, too?
Yeah.
Does he talk about that, or am I totally...
No, he mentions, I don't know if he calls it remnant powers, but just the impression.
Just like the vibes, right?
Yeah.
It's an area that had a lot of positive elven presence before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to think where that's at, but we'll get to it. So yeah, they rest here for a little bit, and Gimli starts to kind of lay the land for him, doesn't he? He kind of looks on ahead. He says, "I need no map." This is where Pippin is kind of saying, Gandalf kind of scolds him and says, "Have you ever looked at a map? Did you look at any maps when we were in Elrond's house?" Where he's like, "No, it's more Frodo's thing. That's Frodo's thing."
That's right. That's right. He did.
But Gimli doesn't need a map.
Yeah.
And he starts to kind of describe this land. He describes the three mountains that they see, right?
Baraz, Zirak, and Shathur.
Yeah. So there's the land where our fathers worked of old. And we wrought the images of those mountains into many works of metal and stone, and into many songs and tales. They stand tall in our dreams.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I don't think he'd ever seen this. Does it say? He says, only once before I have seen them from afar in walking life, right? Wow. So he knows their names, and he kind of talks about, he goes into some ancient Dwarvish,
Khazad-dûm and Dwaro Delph.
Which is now called the Black Pit.
Yeah.
Moria in the Elvish tongue. Yonder stands
Farazanbar.
There you go.
The Red Horn,
the Red
Cruel
Horn.
Caradhras,
Mm-hmm.
and beyond him his Silvertine and Cloudy Head,
Yeah.
Glubdil the White, Fanuadhol the Gray,
Mm-hmm.
and we call him Zaraxagil and Boondashathor. So he's giving the Elvish and the Dwarvish there.
Yeah, he kind of lists all the different names by which they could be called.
Which is interesting, right? I mean, that's I don't know if that's like done out of respect to the elves as well. The fact that they have, because it's just interesting that a dwarf would also use Elvish, isn't it?
Well, I think it's just more so for understanding.
Got it.
So that they all understand where they're at.
Got it.
And it's Caradhras that is what they're gonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to go through and over.
Yeah.
And that's the one that it's called. What does he call it? It's cruel. I mean, it's almost that it.
Yeah.
He kind of talks about how it's not necessarily, almost that it has a spirit or a mind of its own.
Right. Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. Like the mountain itself is an evil spirit, a person, right?
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to find it. I know Pippin says something here about, or somebody mentions the harshness of the dwarf tongue. Do you see that anywhere? Did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
Maybe I'm making that up. I know for sure somebody makes a comment on Gimli's on the words and the language which he uses. So anyways, let's move on though a little bit here.
You move on, I'll look for it.
All right. That is true, said Legolas, but the elves of this land were a race. Oh, let's back up a little bit. To the end of the journey, in the end, said Gandalf, we cannot look too far ahead. So they're asking about the path that's laid, in which the route in which they'll take, and they talk about where they need to go, and he kind of just he doesn't want to tell them. I think exactly where everything is going to lead. It's just sort of like take it day by day. Is really.
And do you think he even really knows?
Well, he might not, but it's I think the path in which he had discussed with Aragorn is dark, and it does take them through Moria. Yeah. And so he doesn't really want to discuss all of that. I wonder if part of it's too because they can't even necessarily agree. Well,
he and Aragorn
right.
have differences, and they're not really. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
And maybe he even foresees that he might not always be with them.
Yeah.
So if there's an idea he has and he's not around, he doesn't know how they'll be led.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Good point though. Yep.
Yeah. Yep, and he talks about this area, Holland, again. He says, that the air there is kind of wholesome. He calls it wholesome air. Yeah. Much evil must befall a country before it wholly forgets the elves, if once they have dwelt there. And this is where I said earlier that Legolas says that's true, but the elves of this land were of a race strange to us, of the Sylvan folk, and the trees and the grass do not now remember them. So I only hear the stones lament them.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, which is neat. So they
even.
sought the havens long ago. Now they while they're here, they don't stay in Holland very long, do they?
No.
Because I think they take a little time and just kind of breeze through some of this here, but they settle down. They have a fire. I think a small fire. It does not make a lot of smoke. That was something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
You can't make a lot of black smoke, and everyone is kind of taking watch. They're kind of taking turns or whatever. They're chilling out. I think Gandalf actually says they could stay there for a whole night and then like another day or something.
Yeah.
And Pippin was looking forward to like a good hearty meal,
a
warm meal the next day. And that gets kind of cut short.
Because of something Aragorn kind of senses.
Yeah, senses and sees. Because he's on lookout, right?
He's talking about, Mary asks if he misses the east wind. What's the matter? What are you looking for? Mm-hmm. He says, I miss, he said, no, indeed, he answered, but I miss something. I have been in the country of Holland in many seasons. No folk dwell here now, but many other creatures live here at all times, especially birds. Yet now, all things but you are silent. Mm-hmm. I can feel it.
Yeah.
There's no sound for miles about us, and your voice seems to make the ground echo. Mm-hmm. I do not understand it. So this is something that's got him really vexed. I can't remember where, but they talk about later.
Paying attention to a ranger?
That, but also I think, is it when Sam's sitting with him and Sam even notices it? He's like, holy crap. Like the very breathing of, I think everyone else is asleep, right?
Yeah.
Their very breath sounds like it's shaking the ground.
Yeah, that's coming up right next. Right before that, Gandalf just says, when you bring a ranger with you, make sure you pay close attention to him, especially when that ranger is Aragorn.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So stop talking, etc. And then you're right. Sam takes, the first watch, so it was his watch, but then Aragorn actually joins him.
And it's interesting here. That's right. And I have here, and I think this is a cool pairing we don't often see. I don't know if we ever see it in the films. A little bit maybe, just Aragorn and Sam kind of interactions, but what a cool thing to explore here. But he talks about no noises. I think he even mentions how the sky has cleared to clear blue and there's no clouds. And I just thought, I was reading this and I'm thinking, wow, they're totally exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
totally in the open.
Yeah,
which is almost exactly where they obviously didn't want to be, and now we're concerned about like birds, and beasts,
right.
That might be spies, and if there's no clouds, there's no cover, you're in a tight spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. So at one point they since they don't see any clouds, they see this black sort of like mass moving towards them, and that's when Aragorn says, "Lie flat, still."
Yeah.
Pulling Sam down, into the shade of a holly bush.
Yeah.
And they basically, they see this regiment of birds that had broken away from the main host, and they came flying low. It was just sort of,
I'm not gonna let you get my phone.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Thinking it maybe sounded a little bit like that.
It might have sounded something
What do
like
you think?
that.
I think that was Aragorn talking to Sam at
She had
first,
a
and
little
then just
bird
those
sound in there at the end, didn't she?
crows just coming in on him, man.
That was pretty good. I forgot you had that. I was like, what are you doing? Gosh, that's hilarious.
She was keeping us entertained earlier,
Oh,
and she literally just started. She's been doing this chirping thing lately,
Yeah,
where she just sounds like a crow, like a little baby
bird,
crow
yeah.
chirping. And I was like, dude, we got to record that for the Krebine.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
So
because that is probably what maybe they did. They did make. Actually, they were there. There was like as they get right overhead. I think there is like a one that makes this like caw.
Yeah,
This,
you're
like,
right. There was just
like
one
this caw noise or whatever at them.
Yeah.
But they hit the ground and they're flying overhead, and they can. Aragorn senses that they're not just. It was two things, right? They either these birds were moving from something that had like a war or something that had stirred them, or an evil power that they were fleeing from, or they were spying.
Yeah.
And he sees that they're kind of splitting off and doing different things. They're not staying together.
Yeah.
And that would be an indication that I think that they're looking for something.
Yeah.
They fly right over them.
Yep.
What are the odds of that?
Right. Exactly.
So they do that. Now they talk about this Red Horn Gate, and that being the way in which that they're trying to make towards.
Yeah.
That Gandalf is directing them. So, and so Gandalf just sort of says, it's there's no time to waste now that the birds have been overhead. They can't take that long, longer break the next day. They need to get up and go.
Yeah.
So they make for the Red Horn Gate and move on. And this is where Hugh said, one of our podcast names. Well, if that isn't a plague and a nuisance, And then I actually like this part a lot. Pippin says, the news, no fire and move again by night, had been broken to him as soon as he woke in the late afternoon, all because of a pack of crows. And I had to look forward to a real good meal tonight, something hot, Yeah,
they kind of mentioned too how their meals have been cold and not very. I can't remember exactly how they described it, but not real hobbity, I guess. And so they're, as hobbits, they need that void filled, and it's left empty right now. So that's got them a little weakened, got them a little frustrated, a little on edge, right? If a hobbit doesn't get his meals, then he's not quite himself. So yeah, Pippin's truly lamenting this.
Yeah.
This news. Yeah.
Right. So at dusk, the company sets out, turning now half east. They steer their course towards Caradhras, which far away still glowed faintly red in the last light of the vanishing sun. One thing that I noticed along their way, Lane, it's still the wind is blowing, and they've got this cold, kind of like chill. And as they start to work up this mountain, they're going to encounter some weather that's pretty harsh.
Yeah, they are.
But there's this. Frodo looked up at the sky, and suddenly he saw or felt a shadow pass over the high stars.
Yeah, what was this?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you. And maybe our listeners can help us out a little bit. So let me just read it
I had a
in
thought
full.
that just came to me. Go ahead and read it.
So it was the cold, chill hour before the first stir of dawn, and the moon was low. Frodo looked up at the sky. Suddenly he saw or felt a shadow pass over the high stars, as if for a moment they faded and then flashed out again. He shivered.
So the thing that's just coming to my head right now, since we talked about it, and we talked about the ringwraiths, the 9 being driven back to their master.
Yeah.
Is that maybe what this is? They're shadowless and formless, but it says it's shadow. I don't know. So maybe that is that what that is? I mean, it's too early for the fell beasts, right? What would that be, man?
I don't know, because he actually does ask Gandalf, and he says, that he didn't see anything, but no, I felt it, whatever it was.
And Aragorn too, right?
Yeah, it may be nothing, only a wisp of thin cloud.
Is it Krebine, maybe? Maybe more of them flying over.
Maybe.
And yeah.
Right. It was moving fast, and not with the wind. So going against it. So as you said, it could be a spirit of some kind.
Maybe one of the 9 returning to Mordor.
Maybe.
I don't know, man. That's
I don't know.
bizarre.
I don't know. I would like to hear more speculation on it.
Yeah. What
So-
is that shadow?
Yeah.
They talk. I mean, it's cool to. I love pointing this out every once in a while because I'm so obsessed with, especially with this movie. This movie's my favorite. How some of these lines are taken out and given. This whole sequence is much different in the films. It's actually Legolas that spots them at a distance. They're not resting. They're just kind of hanging out and eating and playing.
Yep.
And it's Gimli that just says it's nothing. It's just a thin wisp of clouds. But here it's talking about something totally different at a different time for a different character. It's just amazing how they just on a second, just kind of talking about the films for a second, how they took lines out of context, made them work, and because they included stuff from the books, it worked for fans as a whole.
Yeah.
And they thought, you know what, that honors the spirit, that it's close enough.
Yeah.
It's a good secondary use if they can't make it exactly how the books have it happen, and I'm satisfied with it.
Can I say, I mean, I think one of the reasons they might have done that is you give Legolas and Gimli and some of these guys a little bit more,
more screen time,
especially
I
in the
guess.
Fellowship,
You're right.
until they get to the point where they kind of split off.
You're right, and it plays to the strength that we talk about earlier is Legolas's eyesight. His keen eyesight, and that's why he's in the back. He's looking out for everything from all sides, and so that's a good point.
Yeah. Yep. So now
Gets chilly again, doesn't it?
It gets chilly, and
Damn, on December.
On the third morning of Caradhras rose before them, a mighty peak tipped with snow like silver. So they're making over that. It has these sheer naked sides, dull red as if stained with blood. Right. So
Man, can't you envision
daunting.
that?
How are you gonna get around that or get up and over top of that? They're trying to stay as close to it as they can. They actually are going to go over the mountain. And then, as you said, Gandalf snuffed the air and looked back.
He did. Don't forget the snuffing.
Don't forget the snuffing.
Nicole, don't forget the snuffing.
Yeah, he has
changed.
he has a conversation with Aragorn that I think is interesting.
Yeah.
This is where we had talked earlier about their disagreement. He says, "Winter deepens behind us." He said quietly to Aragorn, "The heights away north are whiter than they were. Snow is lying far down their shoulders.
Yeah.
Tonight we shall be on our way high up towards the Red Horn Gate. We may well be seen by watchers on the narrow path, and waylaid by some evil. But the weather may prove a more deadly enemy than any. What do you think of your course now?" And so Frodo's actually overhearing this little back and forth, and Aragorn answers, "I think no good of our course from beginning to end, as you know, Gandalf. And perils known and unknown will grow as we go on. But we must go on, and it is no good our delaying the passage of the mountain. Further south there are no passes till they come to the Gap of Rohan. I do not trust that way, since the news that came from Saruman. Who knows which side now the marshals of the Horse Lords serve?"
Yeah.
So that's why he doesn't necessarily want to just swing on down straight south.
And who said this again? This is
Aragorn.
Aragorn who said this. And it's interesting because he's actually taking news that Gandalf kind of gave him, right?
Yes, he is.
When he went back to Edoras and he found that, or who? No, it wasn't him.
No, because they learn.
But who gives them that information at the council that they're paying tribute of horses to Mordor? I can't remember.
The eagle.
Gwaihir says that. That's right. Yes, he says that.
Gwaihir.
So anyway, the information that's passed to him, and he takes that very seriously. And he actually, remember, at the council, he was the first one to say, "That saddens me."
Yes.
I'm really sad to hear that Rohan and Edoras specifically are aiding.
Yeah. I almost imagine that Gwaihir from the sky might have seen things that would indicate that they were feigning that type of support or tribute, but then deceiving perhaps Saruman in some way. I thought that, you know what I mean? Like,
Maybe.
what would cause him, who he's in the air, he sees all of these things, but then Boromir is the one who says that is not their nature. They love their horses more than they love.
Or is that just Boromir not knowing and wanting to defend the South?
Yeah. That could
maybe.
It could be.
No, but you're right. Maybe it was.
I
some
honestly
sort of
don't remember.
decoy
I actually think it's addressed later. I actually think they talk
probably.
about it, and I just don't remember what happens.
So you want a little cool history on the Red Horn
Yes.
Gate?
Yes,
Because I just looked this up. I wanted to see if there was any kind of background on it, and it's very important.
Cool.
It's where Celebrian, the wife of Elrond, was captured by orcs.
Jeez.
Okay. It's also, this is very interesting because we've got 4 hobbits in our fellowship, and we're migrating towards Doom, right? We're moving towards the end of this. This is actually the path that hobbits migrating from Gladden Fields into Eriador. So when they went into the Shire, this is the path that they used.
No kidding.
How cool is that?
That is cool.
Just out of curiosity, I was like, we should see if there's a little bit of history there because Red Horn Gate, and there's some stuff there.
I didn't even think to look that one up.
It's kind of interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's neat.
Well, that's the thing. Isn't that the thing about Middle Earth, man? You could pick any one thing.
Yeah.
And look it up, and there's going to be a history on it. And that's why it's so believable and awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's super cool. So they continue their little back and forth or whatever, and Gandalf kind of says, "Who knows?" But there is another way. and not by the pass of Caradhras, the dark and secret way that we have spoken of. But let us not speak of it again, not yet. Say nothing to the others, I beg, not until it is plain that there is no other way.
Yeah.
And so they have a backup plan. They got a plan B, or C, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And let's just stay the course, see how this goes.
Yeah.
And
we were talking before too, and it's probably fitting to do this right here. How this role is kind of flip flopped in the films.
Absolutely.
Right, and I guess it's later on, but when we come to the point of kind of the point of turning back in the mountain pass, it's Gandalf who says, no, we can't turn back. We've got to keep going. And it's Aragorn who said, we've got to go. We've got to turn around. We got to head back down the mountain. And here we see it in the books. It's much different. Aragorn wants to take that mountain pass.
Yes.
Gandalf is the one saying, maybe we should turn back.
Right.
Maybe we should take that other route. Maybe this isn't the safest way to go.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Going forward here, the main piece that really sticks out is this decision. It's this conversation, which way to go.
Yeah.
And so they're going to make their way up Caradhras.
Yeah.
And as they do, they get some good advice from Boromir just to bring some wood.
Yeah.
Talking about to bundle up. It's going to be cold.
That's true. That's a good thing that they listen to his.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, his desire there.
Give them a little bit of warmth as they get up in this, because basically they're hit with a blizzard as they go up. And one thing that Gandalf says that's interesting is that, or maybe it might have even been Aragorn, they talk about how this is it's almost like more than they had ever experienced or expected.
Yeah,
this is hitting
magical,
harder and faster.
Snow.
Than what they had ever really realized.
Yeah.
So, but they set out again with good speed at first. The way became steep and difficult. Twisting and climbing road had many places almost disappeared. So this is not an easy path to kind of find. But by midnight, they had climbed to the knees of the great mountain. The narrow path now wound under a sheer wall of cliff to the left, above which the grim flanks of Caradhras towered up, invisible in the gloom. Wow. On the right was a gulf of darkness, where the land fell suddenly into a deep ravine.
Jeez, man.
So they're getting up there, man.
And it's just only getting more perilous.
Yeah.
You've got gloom from blizzard ahead of you, and you've got a fall into the abyss just to the other side of you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and a neat little piece here we have to mention is that Sam. I love this. Snow's all right on a fine morning, but I like to be in bed while it's falling.
Yeah.
I'm so with Sam on that. I love to be in bed while it's falling outside.
You like wintertime, but you don't like the snow.
No. I actually like all of it, but I was more referring to my snow days.
You'd rap. Oh,
Slam.
I'm with you on that one, dude.
Yeah.
We like to be in bed anyway.
Well, it is nice when you wake up. I think he's just thinking back, and this happens. Remember, this is something we mentioned from time to time. We think back to home, and we think back to those comforts.
Yep.
And he's imagining. He's actually saying the Shire could use some of this.
Yeah.
And
it's
the North Farthing is where they might get some snow.
I've got 3 hearts next to this because it is a cool little history. Because I've always wondered. You always wonder because you only ever see the Shire in its green, lush, full beauty. And I mean, if you're curious and imaginative, you've got to wonder, what does it look like in wintertime?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do they lose their leaves? Does it snow? Does it turn brown? Like most places that look like that in our world. And they say that heavy snowfall was rare in the Shire, except for high in the moors and the North Farthing, so more elevated. They get heavier snowfall, but it was regarded as a pleasant event and a chance for fun. No living hobbit, save Bilbo, could remember the fell winter of 1311 when white wolves invaded the Shire over the frozen Brandywine. So just a cool little escape back to some history of the Shire, which I love. Yep. How cool would that be in a show?
Yeah.
The white wolves invading. I mean, that'd be sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. They talk about what is it? They're going up the snow was thick, on his hood and shoulders, right? It's getting ankle deep already, and they're starting to get worried about this. They knew the risk of snow, though it seldom falls heavily so far south.
Yeah.
Save up high in the mountains. But we are not high yet and still far down, where the paths are usually open all winter. So that's an issue. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And then they start to kind of talk about the arm of the enemy.
Yeah.
stretching maybe further and having, is this Sauron? Is this Mordor able to influence the weather, and speak to it and perhaps cause some of these issues? Yeah. It's a long reach, but we're actually kind of, Gandalf does say his arm has grown long.
Yeah.
I don't think he's convinced, though, that it is Sauron.
No.
So.
And then moving on, I think it's in this next part, right, where Gimli talks about the mountain itself being cruel, and that possibly this
Caradhras
weather
was called the cruel.
Yeah, that this weather is an act of the mountain itself, who has finds little joy in dwarves and elves and any kind of beings.
That's right.
Yeah,
it really does not want to let them pass.
No,
I think there's more to it, but Gimli, has a point here that it could be several different things.
Yeah, when we talked about that, we said it could be some enchantment from Mordor, could be from Isengard, could be just Caradhras, could be those two forces, maybe spurring on Caradhras to bring this upon him.
Right. So they get to a point where there's basically a lot of snow falling, and they're kind of stuck. Right. I mean, Gimli's having trouble moving forward. The hobbits are bent over.
Come to an impasse.
Yeah. And I think Aragorn says, well, let's see. Gandalf says, we either stop where we are or go back. It's no good going on. Only a little higher, if I remember rightly. This path leaves the cliffs and runs into a wide, shallow,
trough.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which, there's your two options: stop here or go back. Aragorn says it's no good going back while the storm holds. So right now they're stuck.
Snow good.
What did I say?
Snow good.
Did I say that? Okay, sometimes I say things and you...
No, it's no good.
It's no good.
Snow good.
It's no good. All right, good.
It's a podcast name.
I'll just say it. I thought you were...
No good podcast.
Okay. Write it down.
That's great. Yeah, you're right, though. Mm-hmm.
And so they're kind of stuck, right?
Yep, yep.
And, but...
Is this where we have our fire coming up?
Yeah, they huddle with their backs first. Right to the wall.
Yeah.
Bill's kind of standing there blocking the wind, right?
Patiently but dejectedly in front of the hobbits.
Yeah. Well, Frodo actually takes a little bit of a nap here, right? He kind of drifts off and goes.
Oh
into
my gosh, dude!
sleep.
I forgot about this.
Right.
And he visits Bilbo.
Right. He has a quick little snippet there with Bilbo.
Dude, why is everything every time he wanders into the dream world, it is so significant?
Yeah.
Is it that elven influence?
You could almost say that this one is just a straight dream, but
it's odd, isn't it? Don't you think?
Odd,
I mean, Bilbo was just telling him, yeah, I guess so. It's about what they talked about. You often dream about what you talk about. It's just weird. It's almost like to me, it almost feels like he's having some kind of telepathic connection with. I see Bilbo sitting back by the fire, right?
Yep.
Living out his song, and Frodo's falling asleep, and almost kind of, it's just interesting.
I mean, again, it could be complete foresight to the end where he's actually reviewing his diary, with Bilbo.
Come on.
I'm just saying.
Whoa.
It's a bit crazy.
Whoa.
But,
could be.
I mean, because that's kind of how I thought about this chapter at the end of this. It's sort of like, come on. Bunch of snow.
Right.
Had a hard time getting over the mountain. That's nothing to tell.
Right.
But the neat part about this, so we'll kind of move on past that. You're right. They do kind of start a fire. But none of the elves, so Legolas, Gimli, nor Boromir could start the fire. Mm-hmm. He recommended that they bring some wood and some brush and things, and they actually need Gandalf to start the fire. And he basically tells them, what I've just done here is put my mark. I've said that I am here, and if there's anyone around looking for it, watching, they'll know that I'm here.
That's right.
But really, if there's anyone watching at that point, I don't know.
Like, what are they all doing up there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Suspicious anyway.
They're kind of out there. Yeah, they're on some errand, right?
Yeah.
So, and they're an interesting looking fellowship.
Yeah, they are.
Bunch of halflings, which that in and of itself
is strange.
Is strange and curious. Yeah. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so he says, I have written Gandalf is here in signs that all can read from Rivendell to the mountains of Anduin. So
yeah, but then you're right. It says, but the company cared no longer for watchers or unfriendly eyes. Their hearts were rejoiced to see the light of the fire. It's like, who cares? Mm-hmm. Whatever. Let them know we're here. We're freezing our arses off.
Yeah.
I think it even says that. I just read.
The rest of this, guys, is basically them trying to figure out how to trudge through the snow.
Isn't it amazing though? Boromir and Aragorn's strength.
Yeah, and that's what amazes the hobbits, right? is that they, so the fire goes on for a bit. They get a little warmth. They huddle around it, and then Gandalf has to kind of, they're working. They decide to go back. And as
soon as they do, what happens to the snow, Ez?
It
dies off.
You're right.
Almost stops completely.
Yeah.
So either the mountain's pleased, or the spell no longer needs to be,
it is kind of setting
spoken.
It is their. They are.
It's just interesting. I mean, I think they'd even note here it was strange how as soon as they decided to turn back, it almost kind of immediately shuts off.
Yeah.
Like a snow machine, man.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting. Yeah, I didn't really thought about
how
that.
frustrating would that be, I guess, to Aragorn as well?
Yeah.
Like knowing that this isn't something. I mean, they talk this whole time how it's not something natural.
Yeah.
Right. You could deal with it if it was a natural occurrence, like I don't know, a flood or really a blizzard high up in the heights. But this is supposed to be clear all the time.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be their road through, and they're being barred by something. They're being set against.
Yep.
It's frustrating.
It is frustrating. Yep, for sure. So, but so they turn back and they've got to kind of plow their way through the snow. There's a little joke made by between Legolas and Gandalf. If Gandalf would just go before us with a bright flame, he might melt a path for us, said Legolas. And then Gandalf says, if elves could fly over mountains, they might fetch the sun to save us, answered Gandalf. But I must have something to work on. I cannot burn snow. And
some fuel.
And so actually Legolas all right, cool, I'll take off over the mountains. I'll go get the sun. I'll be back.
Yep.
And so as they're barreling through, he steps up on the snow and walks right
through.
on top of it.
We get that cool little nod in the films, right? He's walking on top of the snow.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty neat.
It's an amazing thing about it. I love the just because I could just visualize it. We don't really get to see anything like this in the films, I guess, especially from Boromir. I mean, Aragorn is always throwing people and like lifting people up and doing all this incredible feats of strength. But it talks about when they're making that path, when Aragorn says, "I'll join you." Aragorn was the tallest of the company.
Yeah,
Longshanks after all.
Yep.
But Boromir, less in height, was broader and heavier in build. He led the way. Also interesting, right?
Yeah.
And Aragorn followed him. Slowly they moved off and were soon toiling heavily. In places, the snow was breast high, and often Boromir seemed to be swimming or burrowing with his great arms rather than walking.
Yep.
It's amazing to think about how hard that would be. And they do this so long that eventually they're like almost out of sight.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine the effort? Like you've just made it through.
Yes.
It's just something magical about these men.
Yeah.
Right. It's just unbelievable. The strength. You go back to those. You think about Hercules.
Yeah.
Or you think about these ancient warriors that were strong beyond belief, Achilles, and they did these things that seem superhuman.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Just incredible.
Well, for sure. You actually see that when Legolas gets a little closer to the end, they almost like grow discouraged. But it's the width of a wall. Like a brick and mortar wall that they have to get through with the snow. That's probably they say it's 2 times taller than Boromir.
Yeah.
Double his height, and so they plow through.
Yeah.
And because they didn't really know how much longer this was going for, but Legolas goes on. He brings that that gleam of hope, that ray of hope, from the sun as he went to go track it down. So,
I love the humor there too.
Oh, it's great.
It's great.
It's actually good.
It's awesome.
But let's see. Oh, so as they come back, they actually start making their way back, and Legolas beats them back, says, "There's hope. Don't worry, Gandalf found the sun. We're good to go."
Yep.
And
just a dusting beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
The hobbits, though, are still kind of like, how are we going to get through this, man?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And this cold was almost the death of the hobbits.
Yep.
If it would have went on any longer, and they didn't have, if it was just them. I actually think if it had been the hobbits, though, by themselves, this is the interesting dynamic of the Fellowship. They would have turned back a long time ago.
A long time ago.
They're smarter than that. They would not have, risked something like that. So they would have found another way.
Absolutely.
So, but, they're actually carried by Boromir and Aragorn.
Yeah, that's right. Luggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hop on my back, and here we go. So they take them back down through there. So, let's see. Gimli kind of ends up talking about the mountain a little bit. Enough, cried Gimli. We are departing as quickly as we may, because actually more stones and more things start to kind of fall.
Stuff's falling. That's right.
Almost to kind of like push them further on. I was like,
butts along
geez,
a little further.
It was falling earlier. The snowdrifts were getting higher and higher, and they were being discouraged. They've been halted and under attack. It was actually, I missed the part, but it was kind of funny. It was either Pippin or Merry who talked about when they took shelter. Yeah. They were like, well, if shelter is a sheer cliff with no roof, maybe it was Sam, then wow. That's something.
One wall and hardly a roof or whatever. Yeah. That's
So,
right.
but they're taking shelter, you know.
If this is shelter, then one wall and no roof make a house.
Yeah, who said that? Who said
Sam.
that? Sam.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah,
So-
they pretty much they see the birds again, right? They see the blacks. Not to skip too far ahead, but
No,
they're
we're pretty
bone
much
chilled
there.
and they're hungry. They see black specks swarm. Oh no, this is. Oh yeah. No, this is Frodo talking. Black specks, or him seeing these black specks swarm before his eyes. He rubbed them, but the black specks remained in the distance below him. He still, but still high above the lower foothills, dark dots were circling in the air. So he thought he was like almost kind of seeing stars or spots or whatever.
Right, yep.
The birds again, said Aragorn, pointing down. That can't be helped now, Gandalf says, and essentially, Caradhras has defeated them.
yep,
They lost out to the mountain.
They turn their backs on the Red Horn Gate.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, honestly, not like the most interesting chapter. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say it. It
Yeah.
is. It's chapter. Well, let's see. You had mini meetings, council, and so chapter 3. You know,
Yep. Still early
of
on.
this book.
Yeah.
And
I think the main point of this chapter, right, is to show. We talked about this before. Is to show that this journey is not going to be so easy.
yeah.
Right out of the gate,
Right.
right out of departing. We knew it wasn't going to be, but even without the presence of the riders, even without the presence of orcs or Mordor,
Yeah,
just Middle Earth itself might even be
Oh my
fighting
gosh.
against them.
We didn't get a chance to talk. We talked about this before. Remember? See, sometimes like Lane and I'll
We
be
try not
talking-
to have conversations.
Yeah, we try not to
before.
talk to each other about the chapter before the recording.
We
Because,
we always slip into it, and we're like, nope, save it, save it for
I
book
know.
club.
Because one thing we talked about was actually that Middle Earth itself is a player, as we call here Mother Nature.
Yep.
The spirit, the Earth, Middle Earth itself
Yeah.
has a part to play.
Yep, absolutely.
And this mountain itself, defeats them.
Yeah.
You were mentioning that Mount Doom is a player. Mount Doom is what we need, to destroy the One Ring.
Right.
That's where we're headed.
Right. The
we
Earth
have
itself
to use
will-
Middle Earth itself, and the elements. So, I don't know. You think about the different gems and things, the Arkenstone being found, and it being pulled out of the the mountain.
The Earth gave it to them.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
essentially, it created it.
But think of all the things that happen because that stone was given forth.
Very true.
Or
Very
was
true.
found.
Very true.
Crazy
Wow.
to think how.
Yeah, it is.
And something like that was buried. Sorry, I almost don't want to take us on a whole Arkenstone
Why not?
quest, but I will save it.
We're
But
doing that later.
we are. But anyways, man. Yeah. So you brought up a couple cool connections with the gate, the passageway in which they were looking.
Yeah.
The Red Horn Gate. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's again, like we said, there's always history to be found. Tolkien wrote with such a wide. We were watching before. We were watching some of the appendices before we started podcasting today, and just it was a section about Tolkien at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Rings appendices, and just looking back on how he pretty much had just all these stories written, or had the idea of that built before he wrote. The histories were in the back of his head.
Yeah.
Started writing in the trenches. Wrote Lord of the Rings essentially because he loved language so much and wanted to show off, but wanted to showcase the languages he created. He created a language first and then said, maybe I'll make a story that kind of fits around this and builds a mythology for England. Like, what?
Yeah.
The man was a wizard. He was a magician. He was an incredibly skilled and powerful human being. And the people told him, like, you're beating a dead horse. This mythology stuff is all done. Like, you're doing the same thing as that's been done before. You're not doing anything new.
Yeah.
And all to their, to their demise. Like he had great success. We're still talking about it, almost 70 years later, and marveling over it. A story that generation after generation can reconnect with. That, like, as long as mankind goes on, and people read English like this, or any, I guess it's translated into like 70 some languages. So pretty much any language, this story will be marveled over.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, man.
Yep, it is.
Amazing. He
It
did
really
something
is.
incredible. So,
Yeah. So, okay. Well, with that gets us through The Ring Goes South. We're about to dive into the Bywater Post, but next week we've got A Journey in the Dark. So it doesn't sound like it's going to get any
Any lighter?
Any lighter, the load.
I wonder
gets
where we're
heavier.
going.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's dive into Bywater Post, guys. I have a lot of emails that I've gotten. So today we've got 2 larger stories we want to do. And we even have possibly a Facebook message that we got recently.
Gosh,
so
you guys are amazing.
yeah, you guys are great, honestly. Lane, I'd like you to read this first one, though, from our friend Tim Collins.
I will. I was just actually sorry. I just got lost in
fine.
the map there for a second.
What are you looking
I was
at?
looking
What are you
at
looking
our upper map.
Oh, yeah.
Guys,
yeah,
if you haven't, if you want to put your location on there and haven't yet, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm just overwhelmed. I think we have like over 70 uppers that have put their locations on there.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to see.
It really is. It really
Japan and Australia and New Zealand,
is. Yeah.
Scandinavia. Wow.
Yeah, and I'm rethinking. We're about to send out the Billy Boyd World Tour.
Yeah.
Thing. I think of a lot of people who live in the same area on that. We're gonna have to find a really good map. People to make their mark in there.
True.
It's gonna be really hard for everybody in Ohio to put one big X in little tiny Ohio. Because we do have some listeners that are local and stuff.
That's true.
Got a lot of listeners
Good
in
point.
California, a lot of listeners in England. And
Maybe
on the
we
map-
make one X in those areas, and you kind of put on the back, you mark exactly where you're from.
Actually, yeah, maybe
Before
we
your
could,
name,
we could have
you're
people
right.
sign the back and
Yeah.
kind of just put their name there. I'll put some instructions in it when I send it.
I mean, Billy Boyd knows where Amanda is.
He does.
That's all
friends.
I know.
He does,
And he knows that Columbus is the Minas Tirith of Ohio.
that. He
so,
does. That
yeah.
he does. So
Okay. I'm sorry. Tim Collins' message.
yeah.
All right, man. I'm excited for this. You've read this. I have not.
Yeah.
You said this is an amazing
a good
story. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting into this. Like many, I first read The Lord of the Rings in high school. I had found a copy of Fellowship with a psychedelic cover at a used bookstore and went back to hunt for the other 2 before I even finished it. The next Christmas, I received a boxed paperback set, including The Hobbit, the best gift I got that year. Over the next few years, I would pick up books about Tolkien and his stories, in addition to a couple of poster maps. I love this. I could marvel over the maps forever. And a 6x3 poster of the Ballantyne's psychedelic covers, which are really cool. I know what he's talking about. Over the years, some books were misplaced. The posters and maps became tattered and had to be tossed out. But I held onto the main books and reread them from time to time. Yeah. Beautifully written.
Yeah.
In 1989, I was blessed to marry a wonderful woman, Charlie, who didn't always share my various fan interests, but at least put up with them. In December 2001, we took our yearly trip to LA for her company's annual awards banquet. The day after, she surprised me with tickets to the Fellowship of the Ring because she knew The Lord of the Rings was one of my favorite things, and I was excited about seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm almost in tears right now. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
At some point during the next 3 hours, Lord of the Rings went from being my thing to our thing. That is so cool. Wow. Okay. We did the same thing the next few years. She haunted the local Burger Kings
Yeah.
in order to get a full set of the goblets,
Yep.
which is awesome. Sorry to say, Tim, but now you can, this is way more meaningful, but you can get them on eBay for pretty cheap right now. But that's amazing.
they're
She
cool,
did that
you
for
know?
you. That's right.
That's the memory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She even bought a talking Gollum action figure to keep on her desk to work. That's beautiful. She never read the books. She wasn't much of a reader, but we did get the extended DVDs and would watch them a couple of times a year. Just after Christmas last year, my Charlie passed away unexpectedly. She was...
Yeah. I tell you.
Shit. She was buried in her Evenstar necklace and earrings. While I'm adapting to life without... I can't do it.
Yeah. I tell you, it's stuff like this, man. It's like, I knew this would mean a lot to you because, I know how much you and your wife and Goldberry, and you've explained your wedding and stuff. It's just, it's something, it transcends, man. It's something.
Sorry. Okay.
You're fine. I can finish if you like.
No, I feel like I should.
Yeah.
While I'm adapting to life without her, some things are harder than others. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Church is hard without seeing her on the platform playing the organ and singing. I haven't been able to bring myself to watch the shows we watch together and can't even imagine going to our favorite restaurant without her. Then a few weeks ago, I was flipping through the channels and came across The Two Towers. Trying to watch The Lord of the Rings had not even crossed my mind, but I stopped to watch a few minutes and it didn't hurt. Mm-hmm. The next day, I got out the DVDs and watched them all over the next week. It's hard to explain, but I found watching them comforted like little else had. has been. Comforting like little else has been. I'm sorry. Soon after, I decided to read the trilogy again, so here I am enjoying the books once again and the podcast. The only thing that would be better is if Charlie were here to share it with me. Sorry, this has been so long and things. Please don't apologize.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Tim, and thank you for, man. We're honored just to be in your fellowship, to be in this fellowship with you, and to have just heard your story is amazing. And cheers to Charlie, because she sounds like she was an amazing woman and a beautiful wife. So
yeah,
wow.
and I tell you one thing is this kind of when I read this, I had a bit of a moment because my dad and I were sitting there and we talked about this not too long ago. He didn't want to share too much on the podcast, but every time they do come on, we think about the special moments we had going. Mom saying, we wouldn't, I had to wait for her, to go to work, and we would go watch them in theaters with her and stuff like that. And just, her love of this series too. It just, it's kind of taken every time it comes up, it crops up. My dad is not someone who listens to podcasts, but he listens for these stories. Yeah. He actually just skips right to the end and he listens to the stories.
Oh, I love that.
He really does. He told me, and he's just like, that's my favorite part.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Beautiful.
But okay,
wow,
yeah, thanks, Tim. We really do appreciate that, man.
You.
I think that really hits home with a lot of different people. So, all right, next we have Christopher Ferguson. Says, hello, Lane and Ez. I'm writing to you from sunny Scotland. I've got some things to say that might be interesting to you. Firstly, I happened upon the village of Dunmore on the bank of the river. On the bank of the river Forth about a month ago. I just started listening to your podcast, and I seemed to me like a real life kind of Hobbiton, right? Wow. So he shares actually this link. Actually, I think he just shared it in the group, and it's Dunmore Village, right?
Yeah.
So it's like an old, he says that it's old smithy. It even has like a round door.
They're round doors.
Yeah,
Holy
a round door.
Cow!
It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. So everyone should go check that out. Basically he's from Scotland. So for what it's worth, Middle Earth, I'd be a second-rate ranger out of the north, tall and strong, but short-sighted and more skilled in song than with sword.
We're right there with you, man.
Yeah, really.
Count us in.
We've got old Lane over here who's a butterbird, but strives to be Aragorn. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So he said, secondly, I wanted to weigh in with a thought about old Tom Bombadil that struck me when you were going through all of his names. Oh, you're going to tell me with this, Lane. These are tough, but men called him
Orald.
Yeah. Elves called him
Eodawain.
Wow. Okay.
I think.
Okay. Dwarves called him Forn. Only the hobbits called him Tom Bombadil.
This is you read this to me before. This is such an amazing point.
I read that. Yeah,
he blew my mind.
Yeah, because he says when we come through the forest, not in answer to Frodo's call, mind you, he is singing his name, the name that only hobbits have for him. Did he expect to find hobbits in need?
That's
because he is
amazing.
He is singing his.
Yes, he is.
Oh, Tom Bombadil, Tom Bombadil. Yeah, and so that was neat. I think it's an interesting thing to kind of consider, So
because that's not what he would call himself necessarily. He wouldn't call himself Tom.
That's what I'm.
But he does when he's around them.
That's what I'm thinking. Is he singing about himself?
Yeah.
In terms, is it just something he likes to sing about because that's what the hobbits call him, and so it's. It kind of.
We love Tom Bombadil.
It twisted my mind a little bit. I was like, why did he sing it that way?
Yeah.
But he's known by many names, and perhaps he sings songs about those other names.
True.
But
true.
Really good point. Really, really cool. Thing there. So, thirdly, the thing about the omniscient narrator.
This was amazing too.
Yeah. The twice that has come up so far in our read through is in relationship to the ponies and the fox in the wood. Which is neat. Both times Tolkien is using the animals to cast into the future, a future that doesn't concern them, almost as if their lack of sentience absolves them from participating in the good versus evil clash.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Man,
I actually need to go back and kind of look at those moments. Where that type of point of view shifts a little bit.
Yeah, because he talks about the thoughts of the fox. He talks about with the ponies the same kind of thing. He talks about knowing what future they would have had if they had been. Yeah. So he does take that God knowledge point of view, all knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
whereas
that's a great catch. I never caught that. I mean, I knew I liked those two, and that's why I liked those two excerpts so much. They do stand out. They're so different. They're a shift of point of view is wow. That's
because a lot of times he does shift into like even in just this last chapter, you had that third person kind of like what would you call it, limited or something like that, where you're looking at the thoughts are, you kind of get focused in on one character, but I don't know. The point of view does jump between different, characters and things. So, okay, let's read on here. Here we go. Lastly, and this might not be suitable for the podcast, but it's a part of my Tolkien story. I'm a 38-year-old man, and I should be all grown up, but I'm not always able to control my actions. I feel that when Frodo is battling against the desire to put on the ring, his feelings map to my own relationship with self-harm. He knows that it's a bad idea. People who love him and he respects tell him it's a bad idea, and that any relief is temporary and far outweighed by the dangers. Yet in that moment, the desire, so to speak, drives out the good counsel from the mind. I relapsed again today, and as I listened to A Knife in the Dark with you, this really hit home. No answers here, just an empathy with the self-destructive elements of our Hobbit friends.
You know what? That's all of us too. We all have. I mean, I heard this, and I definitely not alone, brother. I mean, I have that same struggle of being able to control my actions, my thoughts. You know what I mean? That is the struggle. It takes form and or takes different forms in all of us, but. Yeah, I still feel like I'm a 30-year, my 29-year-old man who's not all the way grown up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, just as a quick pause and a side note here, I know someone who has shared, with me in the group and things that have happened in her life and stuff is Nicole Whitaker.
Yeah.
Somebody who's been in the group for a long time, been in a lot of the different in the podcasting world, has good thoughts and things, and so.
She's awesome.
There's a lot of people who can connect with what Christopher's saying.
Absolutely,
and kind of feel this and stuff. So you're not alone, and we all have our own, as Lane said, things that we go through.
Yeah,
and that's why I think your conversation about what is the ring to you type of stuff.
Sure.
And how does it make you feel?
And I think that's why we're all drawn to the story, right? Because of that relating to Frodo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, this is his story. It's his quest. It's his journey, and. Yeah, that connection we have to him of knowing what we need to do, being unable to do it, and then how do we cope with the consequences or the what happens after.
Yeah,
moving on.
Yeah, for sure. So
his ideas are beautiful.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you.
Oh my,
Christopher, you really, honestly, I love your thoughts on Tom Bombadil, and I love that we're still talking about that because once we get out of this book, guys, we really don't visit Tom Bombadil anymore.
We're getting to the tales of Tom
until the very end. But,
I thought after this we're just doing Tom Pompacast.
Tom Pompacast.
Pompacast.
So he says, thanks for your work. I appreciate your enthusiasm. One note of criticism: stop apologizing for your speculations and worrying. You are going too far. With our thoughts and ideas. I'm sure that's why we're all listening. Your ideas are beautiful. Let us hear them without second guessing, and that honestly means the world does. Christopher, we really appreciate that.
I mean, how do you even explain that?
Well, I think that's encouragement to everybody in the group. We've always kind of said, when you're in the group and you're talking about these things, don't worry about being wrong.
Right.
Don't worry about that. We tell our students all the time, that is how we learn and make mistakes.
Yeah.
I was just saying to you today, the things misconceptions that I had about this chapter.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa, I don't remember. I was like, why wasn't there any, I'll just be vulnerable here. I was like, I get so saturated with the movies. It's like, where's the connection to Saruman? You know?
Right.
I
and is there one? I know. I'm the same way, man.
Things are coming. We know that or whatever. But I thought it happened right here. I thought there was more direct confrontation here, and so things like that. That's why we do a reread. It's why we're looking back through this stuff. And
to say that Tolkien experts who've studied his work their whole life still don't have questions is wrong too. I mean, so you could literally, he spent his whole life creating it. So you're not going to understand it if you spend your whole life trying. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of it is it mimics real life that way. You're never going to know all the answers, and the beauty of, my dad always talks about the beauty of mystery.
Yeah.
The beauty of not knowing, the beauty of some things never being resolved.
Right.
And it's something I used to be like, what? There's got to be answers. Come on, Dad. And the older I get, the more I hear his words, and I think, no, that is the beautiful part, is that we don't know certain things, that we have to just either believe in certain things, or we get to play around with the possibilities. What's more fun than having conversations where you can't necessarily be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
It's beautiful. There's so many areas in our life where it's like there is right and wrong, there is black and white. You know, there's equations have certain answers, right?
Right.
X equals something, and here it doesn't have to be that way. So
yeah. Awesome. So thanks again, Chris. I got one more here I want to read real quick. If that's
yeah.
okay.
And then I got something real quick after you.
Okay, cool. Samantha, I think it's Henke. Samantha Henke says to us, just recent, kind of a new listener, and so sometimes we get people who just started, in the first couple episodes, and we say, send us a Facebook message with your Bywater Post Tolkien story. We want all those sent to an unexpected pod, so we can keep track of them. But
eventually we'll all get there.
No, but when we see these, I want to catch these, and I want to respond to them. So she says, Ezra and Lane, great podcast so far. I can't believe my luck in finding this pod. I started Lord of the Rings a week ago and just found your show today. I saw the movies when I was younger, before I believed in reading, then watching, and read The Hobbit in college around the time that the trilogy came out. I just finished chapter 4 in the book and episode 2 of your show, so I will binge read and listen to catch up and go about things in real time. Since I turned 25 this year, I challenged myself to read 25 books.
I haven't read that many in my life.
Wow. In 2018, opinion question for you. Does Lord of the Rings count as books 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, or is it just 11, 12, and 13, referring to Fellowship being 2 books or 1 book is her question.
Oh, gosh.
So what advice would we give her on that? Are we going to let book 1... technically, book 1
is over.
So would you say that?
Well, because now, and you're right, because I'm running into right now.
6
I'm
versus
fixing
3.
our weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells, and I'm like having to go back. So overall, it's chapter this, but in book 2, it's chapter this.
I say we call it book 2.
Okay, no more chapter 14, 15, 16. I'm down. That's easier.
It is a little easier.
That's easier.
But so we'll say, Samantha, that you can count it as 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think
because we're
either
spending
way.
good quality time in those books. Okay.
Yeah.
So great show. Loving what you've done so far, and thanks, for guiding me to Swish and Flick.
Oh, well, this is starting to sound more and more familiar, isn't it?
Really? Maybe we should let Swish and Flick know that we're sending people their way.
Swisher girls know. And hey, actually, you know what?
Yeah.
We were talking about, there was an idea you informed me of way back in January.
Yeah.
When some people from Swish and Flick found out about our book club and joined our book club and became uppers. And there was this whisper in the dark of an unexpected flick. A collision of these 2 podcasts and this group of friends coming together. And I've met I remember Tiffany from high school.
Yeah.
And I met the other girls at Rebel Watches.
Our live podcast.
Yes, that's right. And so now we all know each other.
Yeah.
So now we gotta get together and talk about wizards. We were actually talking about today. What would we talk about?
Yeah.
What would maybe our book club members submit questions?
Yeah,
and we just go at it.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
we talk about how
nice
real wizards live in Middle Earth.
Right, they do.
Not at Meadswog or whatever, or Hog's Nose or whatever you're talking about.
Exactly.
Butterbur versus Butterbeer. I mean, we get a whole debate there.
Yeah, it would be neat. Or we could talk about we could talk about the Dark Lords in both of them. Yeah. They both have their Dark Lords and
they do.
How different they are.
Snape and a Sauron. Not a Snape.
Snape.
What's his name? Voldemort.
Voldemort.
Guys, I'm telling my knowledge of Harry Potter.
That's funny. They'll have a lot of fun with that. Megan Megan and Katie have really been wanting to do that collaboration, so we'll get that going for sure. Yep. So thanks, Samantha. Did you have something you wanted to read though?
Oh yeah, on Instagram it just popped up. Myron Bellany, or as we know him, I Eat Tacos.
Oh yeah, our friend.
He just posted from Council of Elrond Part 1 a little commentary on our draft. He said, first round picks were Frodo Baggins and Aragorn. Shaking my head. I would have went straight for Bill Ferny.
Oh.
And a Power Fist.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
The dark side is strong with
Oh
him.
my gosh.
I wonder if
can't believe
Bill the
him.
Pony would have been his burden of beast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a dark path.
That is a dark fellowship.
Byron, wow.
Dude, where
You
are
went
you
there.
at right now?
You went there, bro.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
love
Okay.
it. It's great.
We actually have something else kind of cool coming up too. So that's it for Bywater Post this week. Again, send those to our email, which is anunexpectedpod@gmail.com. And we'll definitely, kind of get those going and things. So, but we are going to dive into strawberries with cream, I guess, here. So, let's see. Oh gosh, Lane always writes these, and so these are kind of ridiculous. But you recently went south geographically, but it's interesting because not only does the Fellowship travel south, but their moods go south as well. What makes you feel really sad and defeated? What's your Caradras, so to speak, a towering mountain of doom you've met in your life? This is
You didn't read all of it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you met in your
Also, what brand of underwear do you wear, and would you recommend them? I need to get some new ones. I'm just asking.
There's a reason I don't read.
Are you a Fruit of the Loom or a Hanes guy?
Hanes?
Really?
On the spot. What do you got?
I used to be Hanes, and then I kind of transitioned into Fruit of the Loom, and I have
Seriously?
not looked back.
Seriously.
Color choice is better. They leave you feeling fresher.
Cool.
They don't rip as easily, I don't think. I think my Hanes give out.
This is
real
not an
early.
advertisement for either one. We're not.
We're fully endorsed by Fruit of the Loom.
Fruit of the Loom's got us.
Yeah, Frodo of the Loom.
Frodo.
That was really bad. So, what do you think? I mean, do you want to? This is one of my worst
Man,
strawberries with cream.
This is a morbid kind of like.
Well,
a
we always
darker-
get kind of goofy, and I wanted to bring it down a little bit.
You really changed the tone.
Do you
of
have a
the mood.
Caradras? Maybe a time in your life where you're like, I'm going this way. Nope, I'm not. I'm definitely not.
Okay, so like
I've
kind
got
of
one.
Kind of a turn. Why don't you share yours first, and then I'll think.
Well, mine was really simple. So after college, I went. When I was a senior, I did half my student teaching in New Zealand, in the beautiful city of Auckland. And I spent 9 weeks there. I think I spent 2 more weeks than I needed to. And they were like, well, you've got to finish your one half in New Zealand, your second half back here in America or in Ohio when, before school is out. And I was like, I'll just go 2 weeks after college is done. No worries, no problem. They're like, okay. So I took longer there than I needed to. Anyway, I was after my time there, I was convinced I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna graduate, and then I'm moving right back there. I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna teach in New Zealand. I'm gonna live in New Zealand. I was addicted. I was hooked. I loved it. It was such a beautiful place, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life there. And I guess really, I wasn't defeated by a Caradras. I guess my Caradras kind of changed.
I see.
Maybe my blizzard was like a change of mind. And I was like, New Zealand's awesome. I can't believe, no one's going to be able to believe I'm saying this, but I was like, I hate Ohio.
Yeah.
I don't want to be anywhere in America.
I remember those days. Dark
Forget
days.
it.
Dark days.
And now, because of this whole thing, because of going there, and then actually it was the time where I came back. And I worked a factory job. I lived at home. I wasn't teaching. I needed like a gap time. And originally the factory job was to just make money real fast and be able to buy my plane ticket and get over there.
Yeah.
I had such a good time being at home, living with my mom and dad without the burden of school, and spending time with them and my friends that I realized I was like, if I go to New Zealand, I'll probably see my mom and dad. My mom and dad, we don't have a lot of money, right? And traveling to New Zealand is very expensive.
Yep.
I was like, I'll probably see them a very low number of times the rest of my life. I'll probably, and if I moved over there, I wouldn't be able to travel back and forth. So I was limiting the amount of interactions face to face I'd have with my parents for the rest of my life. I was pretty much, if I did that, I would pretty much say goodbye to my friends here and have a whole new group of friends there. My life would have been totally different. And I spent that time getting to know, or I don't know, falling in love again with everything that I had here. Yeah. That it made me think at those times in New Zealand, I was like, what was the thing I loved most about New Zealand? Well, it was the friendships, right? That I had in a very short amount of time. And it was the places that I loved most there reminded me of Ohio.
Yeah.
And I had this eureka moment. I was like, why do I want to leave?
Yeah.
Why do I want to leave? Like, my life can go this way or it can go this way.
Yeah.
Right. And for those of you not watching right now, I just pointed in two different directions.
He just pulled a scarecrow on you guys. Wizard of Oz there.
If you're not watching on YouTube. Just kidding. But I don't know. I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, I have so much here. I have so much and what I do have here is where I came from. It's who I am.
Yeah.
Like this is I don't know, my foundation.
Yeah, for sure.
And it made me fall back in love with that and realize, because for most of my life, as I had this resentment towards Ohio because we moved when I was a kid. We moved from Chicago when I was like 6, and it was a rough transition for me. I never really got over it.
Yeah.
And this going away halfway across the world and wanting to go there to just continue my life of moving on to different places made me realize that it brought an end to this.
Yeah.
That this is my home. This is where I belong. And let me tell you what, man. You know, I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Europe. I've been a decent amount of places, even within the United States. Yeah. There's nowhere else in the world I would rather live. I'd rather spend my days than right here in Amanda. We've had conversations about this. I'd like to end my life, like die right here in this house, right in the backyard, looking up at the stars. Yeah. There's no place in the world I'd rather be and live my life with my family. It's just
you've made a home.
Really, I mean. Yeah. When I say I'm a Hobbit, it's because I feel that connection to my home. I feel like this is my bag end. I feel like, you know, this is my Shire, and there's no other place I could be. When I do go away, I long to be back home. You know, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. 3 days in, I'll be like, man, I wish I was back in Ohio. Right. Just walking out my backyard. I know what to expect. I know what I love about it. So
I get that. Yeah, for sure.
Give me your Caradhras. Well, or a Caradhras, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you two because, you give me time to think there. Dang, I think I had one in my youth that, for me, something that changes your course, something that changes, the way in which you think about life and things. Yeah. And honestly, it dominated a lot of my youth, which was my bone disease. Mm-hmm. You know, something that kind of I couldn't control, and I had all these, I had in my mind all these things I wanted to do. I think my life would have been very, very, very different if I wouldn't have had it, and it just taught me a lot of different things. And my mom and my dad, kind of counseled me and really, really helped me out during those times to help me get through that, help me understand, to see a purpose, see something. Yeah. Every single one of us, every single person out there who's listening, you make a difference. You matter. You have an impact when you walk out your door, and you talk to somebody or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Even just a loved one that you may call. Maybe you are in a state of depression, or you have things going on, and you call, your mom and dad or whoever it may be, a loved one, and talk to them. You brighten their day. Yeah. You matter. And, I think that's something to remember because, we all face dark times and things. So for me, that was a rough go. And as I said, one of my, counselors was my mom. Mm-hmm. And, so I had, it kind of shaped me into like wanting to go into special education. Yeah. It changed just things I wanted to do with my life. It changed who I was as a person, the way I looked at, states of mind, the way that I think about how, I interact with people, being a giver, not a taker, giving back to, the world around me, making this impact or whatever. Mom taught me those things, and so did dad. And then as I got older, as I getting into adult life, just barely got started, and I lost mom, and so from there, and the foresight, I want to tell, this is something, I don't think I've told this on the podcast yet. So the foresight, we talk about Arwen, and we talk about Elrond kind of having foresight and wisdom, being able to see things, Gandalf and things. That was my mother. Yeah. When she passed away, she didn't tell anyone she did this. She left us all letters, notes, a to-do list for my father, a to-do list for me. Things that she told us to kind of, and things she talked to me before she passed and gave me a list of things to do. And then after that, she wrote my sister and I a letter. She hid it in her bedside table and knew we would find it, knew we would look through it. Didn't know when, but had full faith that we would.
It's like P.S. I love you.
It really was, man. I was unreal. And the things she told me there and the things that she said changed my life and have changed the course of my life. Yeah. And so that one's more of a, sometimes your Caradhras, right, or these blocks are set up for a reason. We'll find out later. Gandalf has to go on a trial. He has to face something. Yeah. There's different powers at work. So I don't know, man. That was kind of a couple of those things that really change your path. And I think it's interesting to reflect and think about what has changed your life. And
It's important. It's crucial.
It is. There's times to look forward and live life and be in the moment, but it's also great to reflect and have memorials and markers where life has changed and you set out on a new path.
I think one of those reasons too is it opens your eyes. It makes you a little wiser to the future, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you go forward with a little more perception. I think it increases your ability to see what hand you're being dealt at the present time.
Yeah.
Like how will I look upon this situation 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Will it be a big deal or not so much, or and also what kind of importance?
Right.
Well, even if it's something that I wasn't expecting, how can I use it to better everyone's existence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yep. So, wow. So there's strawberries with cream.
Strawberries with dream.
Yep. Hopefully you took a little something away from that. So
I think that was
good.
I did. So thank you.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I was good to kind of get that out.
So we have a Patreon.
We do.
This is news to me.
We do. We have big goals with it. Lane and I are trying to collect. We want other signed photos that we can send to our our uppers.
We want to. It's kind of like Pokemon. We want to collect them all.
We want to collect them all.
1 through 9. We've got 1 out of 9 of the Fellowship.
Yeah. So it's
our favorite Hobbit.
Yeah, we've actually, I have started to kind of map out where everyone is going to be, different Comic-Cons and stuff. So if you would like to support us on Patreon, hit us up there. And, some weeks it'll be Lane, some weeks it'll be me going to these different places and trying to grab some signatures.
Are we going to go meet Carl Urban in Cincinnati?
I think we should.
In September. Because I would love him to sign my Two Towers book. And I think it'd only be fitting.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
He's the man. There's not enough Éomer in the films. Mm-hmm. And also, I will post my favorite. I'm going to show you after this. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
My favorite clip of Carl Urban in anything he's ever done. It's hilarious. It's in a little show called Short Poppies.
Okay.
And he may or may not be a gay hairdresser.
Okay.
And he nails it. It's amazing. It's so funny and amazing. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, we have something interesting. So, we always do the appendices for Share the Load. We do our Patreon exclusive series. Lane's going to go ahead and pull up a voicemail that we got from I think it's Devin Odell. Or Devin, at least.
And why are we playing this as?
So, we're playing this because we got a voicemail. I think we got a couple of voicemails. I don't know. We got a couple of voicemails. But so we always play those. And Devin actually has an interpretation of my dream. So we've been getting people interpreting my dream.
The River Daughter.
The River Daughter.
Yeah. Had a very astute one, and then this is one as well. So, and this is just kind of the cool thing when you get on when you become a patron.
Yeah.
You have access to these appendices, and these appendices, like we've said before, you guys know they kind of start as us just rambling, maybe after a few drinks, maybe not, but they always get we're going to do one after this actually.
Yeah,
tonight, and it gets deep sometimes, and this one was centered around a dream I had, and then Ez shared a dream he had.
Yeah, so we asked for interpretations,
right? Right.
So what you'll hear is the interpretation. Then you'll have to go back and hear the dream. So if you want to, it's really not that big. But we'll take a listen here.
That's right.
Hey guys, my name is Devin Odell. I'm actually from Champaign, Illinois. I just recently became a Patreon. This isn't really for the show or anything. I just got done listening to you guys' last appendice, and really, wow, the dream kind of hit me. I don't know if I can get this all in 3 minutes, but I just wanted to kind of share my own personal interpretation. I think Lane was really kind of on point with the. I really see the Bride of Christ coming in there with the looking for the River Daughter, and I think like what I see in the maybe distant cousin, I think Lane kind of hit it again. I think it's either one of two things. It's either like how you saw yourself when you were pure, and that's why it was the River Daughter. It was a time long ago, like whenever you still had that childlike faith in God and that kind of relationship with God. And or that's your potential of what you could possibly get again, like becoming a new creature and that kind of thing. And I'll say I'm a strong believer in Christ, and I love God, and I kind of love listening to that story. But I think the whole thing was like almost that you were afraid that you lost your faith, and this was like a coming home kind of, but at the same time, like whenever he was checking the arms, to me it was almost like he was really looking for the mark of the beast, because he says that it's going to be planted in the forearm or the forehead, and in the right one for some reason. I think maybe he checked your left. I'm not really sure, But I thought that was really interesting too, that he was looking for the ones that maybe took the mark. And then when you said that it kind of gave off an evilish feel, that kind of threw me for a loop too, because then I was wondering, like, oh, is this almost like Antichrist kind of thing, where he's actually the one putting it there and everyone's being deceived? So this dream just had like a lot of angles, and it's just really cool to speculate on. So I thought I'd just put that out there. Really, I didn't have time to say everything because, 3 minutes is barely time to cover anything. But really, really enjoy the random conversations. Didn't know what to expect with it, but so far I'm really glad I became a Patreon. Just keep the randomness up, guys. Really cool. Enjoying the podcast. Thanks. Bye.
Well, we appreciate that message. That was awesome. What he's saying is you need a lot of therapy.
That's what he's saying.
I'm just joking.
No, and what's cool, man, is that we it's wild, man. It's a true dream. It's a dream that I really did have.
Yeah.
And we sat down and talked about it. I know it's crazy and random, but like I don't know, man. It's life, dude. It's just kind of cool to get some of it out.
And for me, it's so cool because it's bringing your past together with what we're reading right now. I mean,
we were talking about Frodo's dreams.
Yeah,
we were talking about the dreams that happen in this book, and we were kind of like, man, do you have any crazy dreams?
Well, on that too, but I'm even thinking about the River Daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this whole, and that was just like a term that was used in your dream. You're like, oh yeah, River Daughter, of course.
Yeah, I know.
Like doctor or lawyer. I mean, like that
Bizarre.
comment. You're like, sure, yeah, River Daughter, right?
Yeah. It just,
how often do you hear River Daughter in normal life? Not very often.
No.
But it's your mind trying to figure out where you are right now.
Yeah.
Something from the past, and then where you're headed too. It's just.
Yeah, I've always thought interpretations.
I loved his interpretation, dude.
Well,
that was
yeah.
bravo.
Yeah,
he also said I nailed some things on the head.
He
so
did. So
I
you're
appreciate
eating
that
it up
as well. And I'm just kidding.
No, you're eating it up. Yeah.
No.
I think dream interpretations are cool. So
very cool.
I thought that was kind of neat, but. There's a bunch of random stuff there, guys. I always apologize on appendices. I'm always like, sorry,
I don't know why. I don't think we should apologize.
I apologize for you,
it's
not me.
us. Whoa.
I'm just kidding.
Just caught that.
Sorry. All right.
For those of you watching or not watching, I just did a hook in my mouth.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for that. Thank you for calling in. That's an awesome tool we have too.
You know,
that we
it's
can,
cool,
it was cool hearing his voice.
Oh, it really was. And
I felt like we were having a conversation.
I have a couple other Bywater postings that are coming up with people from different faiths, different walks of life, and to hear how they use their upbringing and their beliefs,
right?
Whatever it may be, and kind of connect it to either what we're doing on Patreon or what we're doing in the book.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
I love it too.
Super cool. So
I love it.
So just know on the show though that Lane and I are open to any and all types of interpretations and thoughts and comments and stuff.
And it's so cool. I mean, think about it, and that's what we are, right? We call ourselves a fellowship. And what was the fellowship?
That's right.
The fellowship was a group of very different people who all came together. They had different backgrounds. They had different mythologies. They had different beliefs. They had different, personal convictions. And they came together, and it's this beautiful thing. It's this ideal of what we should be.
Yeah, man, it is.
I mean, how often do we have those conversations where it's like, I don't know.
No, it's just there's a beauty in listening to each other and sharing.
It makes and stuff like that. It only makes me a better person. Yeah. It only makes you a better person.
Yeah,
and it's happening right here
for sure, man.
We have one more voicemail, right?
Oh, do we? Okay.
I think you said we.
Sparks.
Hold on, let me replay that. Sorry, I want to get the beginning of that.
Hello, I'm calling for Robert Sparks. This is Pat Stinson from Universal Home Health, and I was calling to see if around 11:15 would be okay to come and do his daily care. Thank you. If any questions, please call me back at 937-84.
Are you kidding me? What is that?
So please, was it for Pat?
I don't know.
Was it for Rob? If anyone knows, and we know you guys know this gentleman, let's make sure we get him taken care of. We probably should say this is the wrong number.
We should probably call her back.
Someone accidentally called for
wow,
something very different. So
I didn't. Yeah,
because he might actually, that might be kind of serious. He might not get his personal care if we don't call back.
We'll call back. Guys, trust us. We'll call back. I did not even catch all of. I didn't even.
It was just kind of funny though, because Ez was like, "Hey, we got a couple of voicemails." Played the dream interpretation and then played this one, and I was
30
like,
seconds.
What? That's I was like, so funny.
30 seconds, just play it real quick.
Wrong number.
I did. I guess that's proof that Ez needs to preview everything that comes through.
Here's my question. What are the odds of calling that number by accident and it being for a book club's
That's crazy.
Bywater post. Rare, I'd say.
That's
Low.
well. That's kind of that's funny. Well,
Okay.
all right, guys. Hey, hit us up at patreon.com/UpTalkingTolkien, and we got t-shirts coming. We're actually I'm going to be messaging people for shirt sizes. So
Yes.
actually, I'm sorry, this will be on the 8th. So we recorded this early. I will have already messaged
Done
you, for the shirt sizes because I want to place that order early July. So if you did not reply to my message and I ordered without you, we're getting a big large batch. So hopefully we've got your size in there, but definitely hit me up, and we can
make multiple orders.
Oh,
right?
we make multiple orders, but it just might be a little delayed. So, if we didn't get your size back in time. So, all right, guys. Thanks. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Join the Facebook group. Daniel Clouds actually just mentioned I was looking for the Facebook group, and if you're on the Facebook main page. Our main page there where we post the podcast updates. On the left-hand side at the bottom, it says groups. Click that tab, and you can request to join the group. We approve everybody, and everyone's been real positive, and it's been a good community.
Really cool. Cool space for sure. We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Wow. I guess it is time for our weekly well wishes and formerly fortnight farewells.
It is,
Our next episode will be digging deep into Chapter 4 of Book 2, A Journey into the Dark.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for all those who have gone to iTunes and given us some reviews there. Those help tremendously, and so please continue to do that. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment, or send us a Shadowfax.
That's right. He's the Lord of all communication. We'll see you next week, and remember, Frodo lives.